Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 174 of the Salvaggio and Cratty Sports Podcast. Here for you again on another Wednesday night, back to normal for 2024 and beyond, barring any more scheduling changes we need to make. January 3rd, 7:08 p.m. First episode of the new year. Ryan, how are you?
I'm doing well. How was your New Year?
I did nothing, and it was lovely.
That's
I'm very
good.
much, I'm very much in the mode in my life where if somebody doesn't ask me to do something on New Year's Eve, I'm just gonna hang in, and if they
Yep.
do, I might go out.
I think that's a good way to approach it.
Yeah, I never go out of my way. I've never have like even in like high school and stuff. I'm just
Hmm.
kind of like, so it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yep.
It's not a holiday. I'm like or a celebration, whatever you want to call it. I'm super like huge on. So,
Hmm.
how's yours?
Good. I same thing. Didn't do anything. We usually say it anyway. We ended up watching me, my mom, my dad, some horrible Netflix movie about the world ending. It's got Mahershala Ali, I think is how you pronounce his name in
Is
it.
it that new
Um,
one?
yes, I was very psyched to see it, or was very anticipating to see it. My mom said she wanted to watch it. I'm like, oh yeah, sure. I've nothing going on that night. We'll watch it. Very, very bad.
Bad.
Not what I expected. Never really
Gotcha.
got going. And then the ending was one of the dumbest endings I've ever seen in a movie. So if there's people who have watched it that are listening, you probably know what I'm talking about. Um, if you got like 2.5 hours to kill and you're doing
Yeah.
nothing, the cast is good. I'll give it that.
I watched
But
Extraction 2 yesterday. It was really
that's
good.
also a pretty good movie, or that is
Yes.
a pretty good movie on the flip side of it.
Backdrop.
Very
Tried
nice.
moving the seat around to like make it so you can actually see it. Doesn't really do anything, but that's the backdrop. Shout out to my dad for the autograph say jersey. Um, and shout out to PWHL Boston at Song Center tonight. Their franchise debut against PWHL Minnesota. I think people are just going to call them Boston and Minnesota until they decide names, probably after this year or something. And Patrice Bergeron and his kids dropped a ceremonial puck. And
Pretty cool.
Bergeron was there when they named Hillary Knight captain. I forget off the top of my head who the A's are, but apologies there. But shout out to them. I'll have that off to the side, give live updates. But as usual, we'll start with football. Patriots lost 27-21 to the Bills. Will fall to 4-12 in Week 17. Um, Started off chaotic in good and bad
For
ways,
sure. Hmm.
and honestly wasn't a horrible game. Like could have been worse for sure. With how we've seen the Patriots perform at points this year, and even the Bills. Even though they seem to be getting uh things in shape in the right time. We'll see if that
Hmm.
lasts. But a 27-21 loss, nonetheless. And as always, I will defer to you to get us going in studs and duds.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of a surprise stud here. Probably the first time that this guy makes the list. Not the Kevin Harris I went to elementary school with, funny enough, or in middle school with, but the Kevin Harris that is the current running back and the backup running back of the New England Patriots. Stat line wasn't crazy. 2 rushes, 15 yards, 7.5 on average, and then had 2 receptions on 2 targets for 54 yards. So he got involved a little bit in the passing game. Only played 11 snaps, but was pretty productive in those 11 snaps. The 48-yard catch and run, of course, set up Zappy's probably his best play of the game. His 17-yard touchdown run himself. Kevin Harris, obviously a guy that's kind of been thrusted into the backup role with the Stevenson injury, and of course Zeke taking the majority of the snaps as he rightfully should. But when Kevin Harris has been out there, I thought he's been good. He's been productive. He's shown you glimpses here and there. Had a nice touchdown run a couple weeks ago. Is looking like a guy who maybe could be a backup here if Zeke, as we talked about last week, maybe he goes elsewhere, gets a bigger contract. Maybe gets a more guaranteed starting role somewhere else. If he leaves in the offseason, Kevin Harris has looked like a guy who obviously not a veteran, maybe that you'd want to back up, but a serviceable backup nonetheless. And maybe a guy we'll see more in this final game against the Jets. I'm hoping so because, like I said, he's been pretty good when he's been out there in the short sample size.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point with him, I'm just kind of glad he's getting some run out
Hmm.
there. Because spend a draft pick on him. And if he's not terrible, you might as well give him a shot. So he hasn't been terrible. He gets very limited reps and he makes good on them sometimes. So
Hmm.
that's really all you can ask for a 6th round pick at this point. Still
Absolutely.
relatively young, and uh having your backup, be potentially productive in him next year on a rookie deal wouldn't be the worst thing. So we'll see how that progresses, but good week for him. Limited, reps, like we said, though. My number 3 stud was Alex Austin. Got to give credit to the kid for his first interception. I'm against the team that drafted him,
Hmm.
Buffalo Bills. Great play. Just heads up, good patience to find the right time to swoop in and make the play, and it was a nice play. Big one as well. biggest of his career so far. He had 2 tackles as well, an assisted tackle, and also a pass deflection. So got to give him his flowers.
Yeah, he made me eat my words because I'm pretty sure I had him on the duds list last week. I said he's probably not an NFL caliber player, and I was proven wrong the very next week. So again, a guy with really nothing to play for at the end of this season, you should probably be getting more looks at because maybe he'll continue to prove me wrong, and maybe he'll give you a nice little, depth piece of corner. I'm not saying he's gonna, shoot up the depth chart or anything like that. But a guy maybe if he continues to play well in this final game can maybe find himself a roster spot next year and at a position that obviously we've talked about before. You could definitely use the depth at because it's pretty thin as it's been pretty much all season.
Yeah, you'll take it at this
Yep,
point. Maybe
absolutely.
Marco Wilson will be next, the guy they claimed off waivers
It's true too. I completely forgot they even had him. Arizona, right?
the Cardinals. Yes, and
Yep.
he seemed very excited about it, so that's cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you're number 2 stud.
My number 2 stud, a guy that I feel like probably hasn't found the studs side of the list this year a whole lot. We've kind of talked about him a little bit because I think he's popped up in your showing the microscope on a guy that has maybe 1 or 2 tackles a game, doesn't do a whole lot. But this was at least in my opinion, a vintage Dietrich Wise performance. 4 tackles, had a sack, a quarterback hit, forced a fumble that unfortunately no one except whoever the offensive lineman for the Bills were or was that fell on the football noticed. Only 23 defensive snaps played, 33%. Played almost as many in the percentages on special teams. He played 9 special team snaps. So kind of interesting to see Dietrich Wise there. I don't know if maybe, his snap and play is diminishing or not. And I'm not sure he was probably not punished or anything to put him on special teams, but a weird situation nonetheless to see him on special team snaps. This was from Taylor Kyles on Twitter. Said Dietrich Wise only rushed Josh Allen 9 times, but generated 3 pressures, including a strip sack, and beat Spencer Brown on a quick pass. All 4 of his wins came from different spots. So obviously he was getting moved around the line a little bit. The small snaps, as I said, was interesting to see, but he made the most of the opportunities. And like I said, put together one of the more games that we've come to know from Dietrich Wise. Again, not maybe the craziest stat line as some of his other better games, but a guy I think you've highlighted a couple times this year. Hasn't really done a whole lot. It was nice to see him get back and get involved a little bit more.
Yeah, there've weirdly been some hills and valleys with him this year, so it's nice to see him show up in a game like this, especially at the end of the season and later on the team. My number 2 stud was Jalen Reagor because he made good on the 1 catch he made for 39 yards on 3 targets, 1 catch, and his kick return got things going. He ended up 2 for 120 in his kick returns, and he scored 1 for a guy that is trying to establish something as a guy who hasn't lived up to first round expectations. That's a good way to do it. Maybe he sticks around with the Patriots next year after a play like this. And yeah, good for him.
Yeah, he's been serviceable. I can't complain too much. I don't know if you put because I saw some people argue this and I think it was the 3rd interception that Zappe threw was the one his way. Some miscommunication there. I don't know if you put that on him or you put that more on Zappe. I would put it more on Zappe. I mean, the ball wasn't even close. Again, maybe it's the wrong route being run, but like you said, give credit where credit's due because Reagor has had some kind of under their radar type of performances. Not that he's lighting up the stat sheet or anything, but it's been solid and has been a better option at time at receiver than most of the guys on this team, which is sad to say, but it's where you're at right now. Yep.
Where we're at.
Yep.
You're number 1.
I'm sticking with the defense number 1. Again, maybe not the craziest stat line, but Jonathan Jones thought he was sneaky good, has been sneaky good all season. A guy you really haven't heard a lot from because teams are not targeting him, and rightfully so. Coverage stats this week: 0-3, 3 tackles and a pass deflection. Josh Allen, let's be honest, like you talked about the game being close on the opening. Josh Allen sucking, I think, was the reason why this game was close. Maybe the worst game he's played all season. I mean, he was missing guys left and right, couldn't get anything going. But even so, you really didn't hear a whole lot from Stephon Diggs or Gabe Davis, depending. I don't know who. I'm assuming Jones was matched up more against Diggs in this game. But if he wasn't, if he was on Davis at times too, both were quiet. Diggs went 4 for 7 for 26 yards. Gabe Davis 2 for 3 for 21. This was from Mark Daniels on Twitter when he does the coverage stats tweets, saying Jonathan Jones has allowed 34% of his targets to be caught. That's insane. In the last 4 games, quarterbacks are 1 for 8 for 31 yards when targeting him. Jones, a guy that missed some time this year due to injuries, but since he's gotten back, has been excellent. And again, I think he's been very quietly good because you haven't heard a lot from him this season, or heard a lot about him rather.
Yeah, and I wonder, it was a while back with last time they played the Bills, but Jonathan Jones has been good against them, in large part this year. Some of his highlights, I feel like when things changed offensively for the Bills, I don't really like they've played better, but I don't think their offense is like leaps and bounds like different and like revolutionary.
Hmm.
It's been such a weird season, especially in the second half for Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs. They really got to figure it out because like these guys should be playing better more consistently.
Hmm.
I feel like, and it's been kind of bizarre to watch.
Yeah, you never have a
Um,
game with the two of them. I don't mean to cut you off, but
they're good.
it's interesting you bring that up. I really feel like you've never see a game where both of them are like, oh, they both had 5 to 6 catches for
Yeah,
100 plus yards and a touchdown between the two of them. Like it's the first half of the season, as you said, it was mainly the Diggs show, with him going off. It seemed like every week, and then these last couple, it's been obviously not this one, but Gabe Davis has been good. Obviously, the Bills have been running the ball a lot more, so that's kind of helped their offense pick up the slack for no Diggs. But it has been weird. You're just kind of waiting, and I feel like you've been waiting for the last 2 to 3 years now for the Bills offense and specifically Gabe Davis to figure things out and kind of put
yeah.
together a complete performance. But I feel like that's kind of just where it is with the Buffalo Bills. They've been struggling
He's
with that for a while.
he hasn't had a 100-yard game since October 15th, and his highest since then is 86, which he's hit once.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
he has
he
three. He has
definitely should be
three
getting more out of a guy his talent.
only 3 touchdowns since the first Bills Patriots game. So uh I can't imagine that sits well with a guy who's proven to be a little bit of a diva.
Probably
I love
not.
diva
No.
receivers though. I love diva receivers. I think it's hilarious. It's good for the game. Storylines. Kyle Duggar. Do I have to say it? Just sign the guy. Like sign him, sign Big Mike, sign Christian Barmore. Uche, I kind of feel like they're gonna let him go. I don't know. Kyle Duggar just he's the man. And usually he kind of struggles against the Bills. He did at times this game, but I think he pulled it together pretty well. Ended up with 7 tackles, 3 assisted tackles for 10 combined, a pass deflection, and a forced fumble. So
Yeah,
that
I
is my number
mean,
one stud.
like you said, I think the one kind of blemish was the whatever it was 51, 52 yard bomb. But if you go back and
Mhm.
watch that replay, like I don't even know if you can put that on him because the entire defense broke down in that play. Like some people want to blame
Yep.
Miles Bryant in coverage, for not helping out there or whatever. So again, you really don't knock Duggar when the entire defense stinks. And like you said, I think I was texting you when it happened. I'm like, I feel like Duggar, his only bugaboo tends to come against the Bills, but then like you said, you look at the stat sheet, he played really, really well. So can't complain too much. I'm with you. This is a guy they should have locked up at least a year or two ago instead of having to have us sitting on the edge of our seat here to see if they let a pretty solid player on this defense walk for nothing.
No, that would be quite foolish.
Yes, it would.
Wonder if he's a franchise tag candidate. I don't know.
Oh, maybe.
Um, your number 3 dud.
No surprise. It is Chad Rylands. Maybe a
Ditto.
guy that you said a week ago, the worst kicker, and maybe a week ago, maybe two, I can't remember. But you
He is
did
the
claim
worst
him the
kicker in the
worst
league.
kicker in the league. I don't think you can argue it at this point. Missed another 40-plus yard field goal, which of course would have made it 20-17. Would have made things a little bit more interesting. Personally, I think it completely affected how the Patriots, and again, we've seen the Patriots do this before, where they chicken out of driving down the field at the end of the half, wasting timeouts here and there at this point in Bill Belichick's Patriot era. But I think it definitely affected it somewhat. The Patriots get the ball on the 8, so maybe not the best field position, but they did still have a minute and 5 to go. All 3 timeouts, down a score. Like you should be able to at least move the ball, at least try to move the ball. But I think maybe that's in the back of Bill Belichick's mind at this point, where even if we do get into field goal range or and attempt it here late, I don't know how much trust I have in this kid to kick a field goal because he can't make any. On the year now, 15 for 24. I thought he had missed 10, but it's only 9. 15 for 24 in field goal attempts, including 2 misses from 30 to 39 yards, 5 misses from 40 to 49, and 2 misses of 50 plus. He stinks. Like I've never been less confident in the player every time I see him go out on the field than Chad Brown at this
Yeah.
point, because he doesn't instill any confidence whatsoever.
No, he doesn't look confident. It's not even just like the vibes around the kicker. We've been lucky to have great kickers for our whole lives. So when you see something so drastically different, it's definitely stands out a little more than an average team who might have a revolving door of kickers. He's just not good. Like it's just how it is. I feel bad saying it. I feel bad for the guy, but it's just how it is. Devon Godshaw, as I do every week, I highlight somebody who plays a lot and doesn't do a lot. And that is Devon Godshaw again
He's
this
the
week.
king of this spot. He really is for you.
Like,
Like,
is there something I'm missing here?
he
Because
stinks.
I don't get it.
I told you this 2 weeks ago. He sucks.
He one assisted tackle on 45 snaps. That's 65%. How is that possible when you're on the interior of the defensive line? I don't get it.
Again, I think I
Tough
told you
start
this
for
last
the
week or 2 weeks ago. Like unless Buffalo's not running the ball a whole lot, but when you're playing that many snaps, you're out there for a reason. And the fact that he's not doing anything is quite alarming.
tough start for the Boston team. They are down 2-0 already. Um, not great. I would like him to play elsewhere next year. But I'm not counting on it. Our number one dud, like our number three, is unanimous, and I think anybody can guess who it is.
Oh, you skipped my number 2 again for the second week in a row. You don't want me to put my number 2 dud out there.
I don't know why I do that.
I don't either. I'm gonna have to start bolding that
I
one
think I
section.
think something
It's the same
something
guy too. I'm pretty
something
sure. You just
something doesn't connect in the synapses of my brain when we have the same number three dud, and
Mhm.
then I just like I see that we have sometimes the same number one dud, and it just like I just get to it in my brain. It
Fair
doesn't
enough.
register. I
I'll
don't
keep it
know.
short and sweet then. It's, I think, for the second week in a row, Antonio Mafi, a sack and a hit allowed, played 40 snaps, 75%, and then was once again benched, this time for, surprisingly, the far superior Jake Andrews. You sent me that tweet
He's
that I
good.
forgot to pull up. Yeah, he played pretty well in this game. Mafi, on the other hand, he's not good. But going back and looking at it, and again, the lack of depth you have on the offensive line, like, I don't know if we can really knock this guy anymore because he shouldn't be in this spot in his first year in the NFL. Like he should not be starting as many games as he has. This is a guy
No.
that you have to ease into the position or, try to get him some work here and there. Mainly have him as a backup player. But again, because you're so thin at the position, he's been thrusted into a starting role and it just has not worked out for him this year.
No, and I think you don't really lose much from giving Jake Andrews that left guard spot against the Jets.
Yeah,
And I think that's
absolutely.
what
I'd
they
try
should
it.
do. Another guy, like, spend a draft pick on him, played good, try it again. Um, you've done it with Vidarian Lowe. You had a couple moments with him, didn't work out, so he sits. Hasn't really played much since. Tyron Wheatley, you didn't get the liberty of doing that. He got hurt pretty much immediately, I feel like.
Mhm.
But Jake Andrews, you spent a draft pick, fourth rounder on the kid. Thought of primarily as a center, but has some guard flexibility coming out of Troy, from what I remember. So give him a shot. And our number one dud.
That's a me going. Sorry. Bailey Zappi was not good. I mean, he was good in the second half. Again, it blows my mind. Bailey Zappi cannot put together a full NFL game for whatever reason. The first, obviously, 2 starts, great first half, horrible second half. Last 2 games, horrible first half, great second half. 16 for 26, 209 yards, 3 just atrocious interceptions. I joked with you that I think, if that's Mac Jones, he's getting pulled after 2. But he's just so far gone. You weren't ever going to see Mac Jones in this game, whether you wanted to joke about it or not. 3 sacks as well for Zappi, a quarterback rating of 47.3. Did have 5 rushes for 37 yards and a touchdown. Of course, had the nice run to kind of pad his stat on that. Interceptions, decision making was atrocious in the first half. Like I said, turned it around in the second half. And like I joke, I would love to see him put together a full game of football because maybe you'll have something there at the quarterback position. But I think this game, as it did for me, texting you during it, solidified that wherever they end up, unless they completely fall off, which they might when we get into the Jets preview. If they win this game and some other things don't fall their way, they could free fall in the draft. But you're taking a quarterback if you have a high draft pick. Like the wide receiver might be fun, but quarterback is what you need because, as we talked about before, Zappi is a nice backup, but he's not a guy I don't think you can rely on to be consistent through a full 17-game season.
No, you can't. And
Or
the one that
18,
stuck
but
stuck out to me is it was a bad throw regardless, but the Demario Douglas one where there was seemingly some miscommunication. He went
mhm.
deep. They showed that even the route they drew out on the screen supposed to be a post. Don't know really who to put the blame on. Didn't really see anything about that from any reporters or anyone asking Bill,
Mhm.
but just not good. Poor decision making. Maybe Josh Allen's poor decision making rubbed off through the air to Bailey Zappi. I don't know, but just wasn't good. 3 picks. If you have 3 picks, you're gonna end up in the does list. That's just how it is.
Yep.
It's really what it comes down to. And the thing that stuck out to me the most is I don't know what they're doing at PFF. I'm not like shitting on the whole brand or anything, but
Yeah, saw this too. Greg Bedard brought this up on Phil
so
Rivaz the other
bizarre.
day. He's the
A
second
pick
highest graded Patriot.
he he's highly graded by PFF, and according to them, had 0 turnover worthy plays.
Definitely don't agree with that. Like, again, the argument was maybe you could make the case on the Rigger pick because he ran maybe the wrong route. But the first interception threw in a double coverage. I know the ball gets batted up in the air, but that's a bad decision right out of the gate. The pick six, like I just said, maybe you put it on Zappy for a bad throw, but I can't even remember the second, the Douglas one, to be honest. Like, I tried to get this game out of my brain as soon as possible, like you were doing earlier in the year. But yeah, that's a little wild that no turnover worthy plays because he made some bad throws in this game. Like,
Real bad.
mhm.
I'm trying to, since we were talking about the draft and the free fall.
It fall to 7, I think it was. I saw that is the maybe not a
No, they
free
can't get to
fall, but
7. No
I
way, really?
yeah,
I saw
again,
somewhere from ESPN Stats and Info they have a 99.9% chance of getting a top 5 pick.
okay, so that's yeah.
It
Like
would take a. It
again,
would take a. In the event that is true, it would take an absolute catastrophe
yeah.
of epic proportions, including them winning, which would be the biggest thing, obviously,
Mhm.
winning or losing, I should say. Um, there is a chance to get 2. The Bears have 1. That's locked in. Whether they keep it remains to be seen. This is from NBC Sports Boston. That's obviously a lot to keep track of. Not reading. That's just for previously in the article. Tankathon.com highlighted 5 Week 18 outcomes that would benefit the Patriots the most for their strength of schedule tiebreaker versus Washington. Who are the Commanders playing? The
They
Cow.
are playing, I believe it's the Cowboys. I'll look for you really quick. Commanders
Um.
are playing. They are home against the Cowboys.
Okay.
Have not
Sam
seen if
Howell is
Dallas is
back.
sitting anybody or not, so there's not
I
like it's
imagine
a
they will.
yeah, you
Everybody
gotta
is. The
they
big
might
things.
not though. Sorry to keep cutting you off. I mean, they still have the division to play, I think, in Dallas, so and seeding, so they might not sit people. Something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I guess. Ideal outcomes. Patriots lose to the Jets. Obviously, Commanders beat the Cowboys. Not counting on it. Cardinals beating the Seahawks. Possible.
Could see that.
Possible,
Yep.
but the Seahawks are going to be a little extra motivated trying to get in, so it might be tough. Definitely possible. Falcons beating Saints. Possible. Steelers
Definitely
beating
could
the
see that.
Ravens with no Lamar Jackson and potentially others. Possible.
Mm-hmm.
Texans beating the Colts. Very possible. Bears beating the Packers. I suppose it's
That's
possible. The
possible.
Bears
Yeah.
have done some shit lately, bet in some games. I'm with the Broncos being the Raiders. I'm not counting on it, but it's Aiden O'Connell versus Jarrett Stidham. Anything can happen. So
That's
we
for
need
sure.
as many of those results to go our way as possible. And ideally the Patriots to lose. I don't know how this all gets thrown into a loop if the Patriots win. I'm not going to go through this all and bore you to death, but we're rooting for the Commanders, Cowboys, Falcons, Steelers, Texans, Bears, and Broncos. So keep that in mind. And if they win, none of that really means anything. A little bit, but less, I'll say. Um, but yeah, not like a ton in terms of other takeaways.
There
More
was
Trent Brown
one,
stuff though.
yeah, I was gonna say there was one big takeaway that came from after
He
the game,
sucks.
which no surprise. And in case you missed it, Bill Belichick was asked. I missed it. I'm glad you sent this to me on Twitter. Bill Belichick was asked about Trent Brown's availability because I didn't know he was a healthy scratch. When I saw he wasn't playing, I figured it was just something with his ankle or his foot or whatever his injury was going in. Bill Belichick, like I said, asked about it, and he responded with a quote of, "We activated the players who wanted to play. Some people thought, what was it, players that." I can't remember what it was that you sent me, but there was some
We
debate
wanted to
of,
play or
yeah,
something
yeah,
like that.
debate of who. But if you watch that video, like I said to you, you agreed as well. It's clear as day. Bill Belichick said players who wanted to play. Now, since that has come out, Trent Brown, I don't know if you saw this. There was a tweet I saw come out that he liked he posted something on Instagram for New Year's Eve, I'm pretty sure. And then one of the comments was, "I can't wait for you to leave," and he liked it. So he obviously
Yeah, dude.
wants out. It's clear as
I'm
day that he
so done
wants
with this
out.
guy for like 2 years.
Yeah, it's at the point where you expect this from Trent Brown because it's the type of player he is. Things start
Just
going south, he
immature.
packs it in. So yeah, the offensive line stinks right now. There's no question about that. He would obviously help you a ton if his head wasn't so far up his sphincter. But I'm good on Trent Brown. Go find a left tackle in free agency or the draft or something because he is not the answer. And if I was a Patriots, they're probably going to because I think he missed practice again today. Sit him in the final game of the year too. Like, don't even
Yeah.
tell him to get on
Wasn't
the
at
bus, come
practice.
to the just we're done. We'll cut bait with you and call it because he is
Yeah.
so far out of it. It's not even funny.
Yep. All done. All done. Been done for 2 years. Can't wait. One more. Ryan, the Jets.
You scared of the
I'm so
Jets
dreaded.
with Trevor Simeon?
I'm so dreading this game because there's just no conceivable way the Jets win.
I was gonna say,
Um,
how if you had to figure out something, how do the Patriots lose this game?
they would just have to completely, fundamentally fumble this, like on an epic scale, because the Jets are done, mentally checked out, bad at football, and have a bottom three QB in the league starting. A guy that's never really been good.
Hmm.
Patriots are just going to win this game. That's a reality we need to accept. Zach Wilson, of course, not playing as we're talking about Simeon. Simeon has completed 58.6% of his passes for 654 yards, 2 touchdowns and 4 picks, has run the ball 9 times for 39 yards. The hope is he can just get the ball off quickly to Breece Hall a bunch, maybe hit Garrett Wilson a little bit, and they can run the ball. And the defense can step up and neutralize Bailey Zappi. Namely guys like CJ Mosley, Quincy Williams, Jordan White has been great his first year for them. Sauce Gardner, I feel like should be having a better
Kind
season.
of mid this year, yeah.
Quinn Williams, we know the deal with him. Um, they got they got a good squad back there. Jermaine Johnson has looked like a great first round pick for them. So maybe that defense steps up. Also, the thing with Trevor Simeon is he's playing against an offensive line that has not been good this year. So Christian Barmore has a game. Trevor Simeon's going to have a lot of 3-and-outs. We know the Patriots defense is still capable, so I am worried. And yeah, man, this could be it for Bill Belichick. It's hard to not think of that.
Well, that was going to be my takeaways. Even if the Patriots find a way, like if they play terrible, if this is it for Bill Belichick, there is no possible chance that his Patriots career ends with a loss to the New York Jets in New England too. Keep forgetting the
Who he
game is at
comes
home.
from
Like
at the beginning of his tenure here.
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Jets.
Yep.
Right now at this point, even if they lose this game, I'm in the camp that what they've done late season is going to keep Belichick around.
I'm
I flipped.
terrified of that.
I think that's
Absolutely
the
terrified.
case, and I hope the GM privileges are taken away. But my hopes, I'm not optimistic. I'm like 60-40 on him staying as coach.
I don't like those odds. I think somebody, Zolak or Bertrand today, I thought I saw said 25% chance maybe he sticks around. They seem to think that they're going to go with, taking away the GM ability for Bill and
We
getting an
hope
actual
that's the
GM in
case.
here.
I'm
Like
totally cool with him staying as coach. Like, get a better team for him.
see,
He can't build this roster anymore.
I'm just so far in the sense of look at where the NFL has gone. You need an offensive minded, a young head coach, the guys that I mean, again, the Trent Brown case is a terrible case because like he's just such a pain in the ass. But like there are guys I feel like that are checked out on this roster and probably are checked out with Bill Belichick and that mentality and that coaching style that I just think you need a clean wash of somebody new in here, a new voice, a new mindset. See if that works out. If it blows up in your face, it blows up in your face. It's a tough pill to swallow, but that's where I've been for a while now.
On the Vrabel camp that has seemingly changed recently, if Vrabel is gone, I'm putting the chances up to 80% that Bill is gone.
Okay.
Because I think they will jump all over bringing Vrabel in. That'll be their big move. Because like I'm still kind of in the camp of Gerard Mayo too, but all these conflicting things about like him being the guy or not being the guy has me pretty perplexed now. So I can't really say that with as much confidence as I did coming into the season or early in the season. More like it that Bill, like if Bill's gone, it's Gerard Mayo's job. It doesn't really feel that way anymore, and it kind of feels like nobody really knows for sure because of the conflicting reports. I feel like we've seen people go both ways. So I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yep.
I can't believe there's a possibility they fall to 7. That would truly break me inside if they fell to 7. but I think the odds of that are very unlikely.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I think
I
you need
also
a
don't
lot
remember
to go
when I
wrong.
saw the 99.9% top five pick odds chance. So that could have been before some games. I don't know, but I have no reason not to trust Craig Bedard. So I will keep that in mind. Um, I got Patriots 26, Jets 3.
You changed this at first. Not that you had the Jets winning, but I did notice. I think you had more
I
points
had
for the
like
Jets.
26
I'm
to 10.
assuming. Yeah, I'm assuming you took the touchdown away when you found out that it was Simeon playing.
Yeah, they're if anything, just
Whether
go on the ground.
Yeah, whether it's Simeon or Wilson, they both suck. They're both not going to be able to move the ball. The Jets will get a couple of field goals in this game late if the Patriots just stop, decide they don't want to play defense anymore. I got 20-6 Patriots. Like I said, to me, with all the things going on, if this is the end for Bill Belichick, there's no way they come out. Like the Patriots could throw 3 picks again in this game, or Zappy could throw 3 picks again in this game, but you don't have Josh Allen on the other side to beat you. Like you're going to be giving the ball to Trevor Simeon. He's probably going to give it right back to you. Like you said, the Patriots defensive line is probably going to feast against the Jets. Wouldn't surprise me if Barmore has another career day because he's just been that good this late in the year. But yeah, it's all Patriots in this game, unfortunately, because again, there's no way they lose this game.
No, yeah. And the funny thing, I'm looking at the order again now. Um, if the Jets lose and neither Tennessee or rather Tennessee, the Chargers, the Giants, yeah, the command no, now I'm mixing up names, I'm looking all over the board. Giants, Chargers, Titans all lose and the Jets lose, they don't even move.
Oh God, really?
Yeah. So
That
the Jets are kind
sucks.
of hoping one of the two of those teams can win. So if they lose, they
Help them
might
out.
move up
Yeah,
a spot or two. But it'd be really Jets if they lose and then don't move at all
really would be.
upwards. It really would be. Yeah, 26-3. Not excited about this game. I expect to see a lot of Zeke and a little more Kevin Harris. I won't say a lot of him. And hopefully at this point we see a healthy dose of Demario Douglas, some Tyquan Thornton just for one last look because he spent a second round pick on him.
Maybe
And
some Kayshon
maybe
Boutte just to see.
maybe Keishon
Like,
Boutte just because
mhm.
Jalen Rager because he earned it,
Yeah,
Like
like I said, this is a game you should be playing a lot of these young guys. I'm sure there's veteran
yeah, like
guys
play
that
the shit
have
out of Marte Mapu, play Jake
absolutely.
Andrews,
I was just gonna
play
say, I'm
Sam
sure
Roberts
there's.
on defense. Some of these guys that don't play a lot.
Mhm,
Like if you need to put Vidarian Lowe in there, throw him in there. Who cares? Like
yeah, see if
maybe
he can
that'll
get
help your odds of
comfortable.
losing. I
Like,
don't know. Tyrone Wheatley's healthy. Maybe you give him some run. I
perhaps.
believe he's healthy. I don't know. I'm rambling
I
now,
was
but
just
yeah,
gonna say, I'm
26 to
sure there's
3.
some veteran guys that have incentives that maybe they need to hit in this game. So if that's the case, then you play those guys. Like if Zeke needs a couple more yards for a couple extra bucks, sure, because again, he's earned it, like you said. Um, we obviously know Juju's not going to play because he's on IR to finish out the year. Like Devontae Parker, I know I just said, incentives, but that guy can go screw for all I care. Yeah, so this is a game you should be getting to look at some of these young guys, just to see. Maybe do we see Mac at the end? Maybe the
I hope
Patriots
not.
go with one quarterback
Real
for one half and one for
really
the
hope
other?
not.
Probably not. But that'd be
Really
kind of
hope not.
fun. I think that'd be a funny thing if Belichick wants to be a dick on his way out.
I would rather
Just
see
kind of
Nathan Rourke, the third
maybe
string.
they do that. I don't know. That'd be again.
Belichick seems to like him, so
Just keep eyes on the TV screens and keep people invested. If you're throwing different quarterbacks out there every quarter, that'd be something to watch and
do
keep an
two
eye on.
QB
But
sets, have them both
yeah,
run.
there you go. That'll work.
Alrighty. Well, one more miserable game, and then we
Yeah, that's for
fully
sure.
we fully shift focus to the draft.
Mhm.
I've been there for a while. Let's go back into week 17 and back like we've already been there. Poor choice of words. Browns 37, Jets 20. This gives me a little hope that the Jets can put up points. But then you factor in the Trevor Simeon thing and you lose that hope.
Yep. It's right out the window.
The Browns are good. Still, Joe Flacco will not play in week 18. He played really good this week. Didn't even throw the ball a lot. Made easy work though. Only sacked once. Jerome Ford had a great game for a touchdown scorer last week. Shout out Mikey Prayers in the chat.
Yeah. Yep.
Kareem Hunt got in the end zone. David Njoku had a great game. Amari Cooper did not play, so he didn't have 250 plus yards again. Elijah Moore, scary injury with some involuntary reactions on the ground, but he had a good game before then. Not sure what his status is right now. Hoping for the best. Jimmy Johnson, who we talked about earlier, had a pick six. Brees Hall played really good, had 136 total yards and a touchdown. or 26 rather, under 26. And honestly, a game that could have sucked. You know, if you're looking at this game about a month and a half ago, you're like, oh God. But Joe Flacco has injected life into this season, and I'm thankful for that.
It's crazy how easy he's made it look. Like again, everyone keeps talking about it, and rightfully so. The guy was on his couch a month ago, maybe a little bit more than that. Now he's coming out and leading the Browns to the playoff. I mean, they're a fun story. Like I'm so glad. I said it to my dad the other day. I'm so glad it's Flacco at quarterback and not the other a-hole, because the Browns are just so much easier to root for now. Like I'm sure you saw the video of David Njoku with the fans, yelling,
Yeah.
shaking the kid, getting hyped. So that was cool to see. They're just a fun team to watch. They might be at the top of my list of teams that I don't want to see, and like if I'm facing them going into the playoffs, in that sense, don't want to see, because they are as hot as they come. We've seen what Flacco can do in the playoffs if he gets hot. Um, Good all around team. They're playing good defense again. They're getting healthier. Their offense is clicking. The one thing I will say about this game that stunk is David Njoku, as you said, did everything except get into the end zone. So that kind of hurt my wallet a little bit. But Browns are still good. And like I said, I don't want to see them if I'm a team first round of the playoffs, because they are primed to make some noise.
Yeah, I like this last week. I think the Browns and the Rams are those two teams right now.
Absolutely.
I don't know how you can disagree. Saturday, Cowboys and Lions.
As
I
controversial as
expected much more
controversial
points.
gets.
It started off slow and it didn't end necessarily fast in terms of scoring, but it ended controversially. The illegal touching penalty on Taylor Decker. Dak Prescott played great. You know, if Lamar wasn't doing Lamar stuff, he'd be heavily in that MVP race, but I don't think that's happening anymore. And CeeDee Lamb, we've said this before. Ever since he said he's the best receiver in the league, and the best receiver in the league, 227 yards, doing his best Amari Cooper impression on 17 targets, 13 catches and a touchdown. Brandon Cooks played very well, too. I hope Brandon Cooks at this point in his career just finds a place like maybe it's Dallas that he sticks around for more than 12 seconds, because he's really good.
That's so true.
When you give him the ball and he's open, he produces. And I don't know why he moves so much, but he does. He's a great player and he's extremely fast still. Aiden Hutchinson had a massive game, 3 sacks, 5 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 5 quarterback hits and a forced fumble. And everything was pretty much overshadowed. Like, I feel like nobody really talked about the CeeDee Lamb stuff that much because of the whole Taylor Decker situation.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of ruined what should have been a great game. The thing about Cooks is interesting is he is maybe one of the best number twos in the, like, he's a guy that had, like you said, a great situation here where there's a bona fide number one guy that can, maybe take some eyes away on the defense. And if Brandon Cooks is open, like you said, he's going to produce. So I think, Cowboys, if they got the cap space for it, it'd be, I don't know what Cooks is, I feel like he's probably up, because that might be why he gets traded so much, is the contract situation. But if they can bring him back, find some money, I think that'd be a really smart move for their offense, because he goes pretty nicely with CeeDee Lamb. But yeah, the fact that I can't remember the referee's name. Is it Brad? I want to say it's Brad Allen, but I feel like I might be wrong. Second time he's been in a massive controversy this season. That referee crew, if you remember, they were the ones on the just blatant. I don't want to defend the Chiefs here, but the blatant missed pass interference in that Chiefs Packers game. And
Adam Schefter has tweeted about this crew multiple times, like, this crew is back again. Like, ominously.
They've been taken off of the playoff. I saw he said that they're gonna be whatever the word is, not like denounced or anything, but again, they're not gonna be doing playoff games, which is good, because I mean, you watch this happen and it gets the people crawling out of the woodworks of like, oh, how is this not rigged? Like, you can't tell me this isn't rigged, because a couple of big plays this season, couple of big games, and now too, like I think my dad was the one that said it the other day watching football. He's like, oh, that's an interesting call that the Eagles obviously lose. Now the Cowboys have a chance to win that division, get home playoff game. So it does make you wonder a little bit. But yeah, the fact, like you said, the fact that you have these great performances, Lions, gunning for the 2 seed potentially, huge game, gets overshadowed by just a completely idiotic call. And I think Schefter was the one that said it too. The fact that we're going into week 18 and we're still talking about just these complete screw ups by the referees is ridiculous. And, something has to change, but I don't know if you have faith in that happening, because this stuff's bound to happen.
Never does. Never does. Yeah, it really doesn't. It's a real shame. Bears and Falcons. The Bears beat the piss out of the Falcons. And one of the biggest storylines is, crazier now with Justin Fields and the Bears putting the beat down on the Falcons with their quarterback future. Didn't have like an amazing day through the year, like 20 for 32, 260 yards and a touchdown. No picks though. and did his thing on the ground, 11 for 45 and a touchdown. Pretty, pretty solid. And Khalil Herbert recently has come back to life after, missing some time with injury. I feel like he was very quiet for a
Mhm.
little while. But he's good. Like, this is what we've seen at times from him. I think he's, a solid piece of that backfield. Roshan Johnson also got in the end zone as well. So the run game is looking really good for the Bears. Unfortunately, they are no longer in playoff contention, but they really rounded things together and given their fans some hope here. DJ Moore was fantastic. That trade is looking phenomenal for the Bears.
Absolutely.
It's going to continue to get better as well. And the defense is great. Tyreek Stevenson, one of the parts of that trade, I forget which pick they used on him. Fantastic. I believe he played in Miami. Great corner for them. They've got some good corners with him and Jalen Johnson, and Kyler Gordon. Kyler Gordon has an interception as well. Stevenson had two, and Edwards had one. Gervon Dexter had a sack and a half, and DeMarcus Walker had a half sack. Taylor Heineke played worse than Bailey Zappi, so he wasn't the worst quarterback of the week. I think it was safely Taylor Heineke.
Yeah, I definitely don't think you can argue that. If you're getting benched again for Desmond Ritter, who wasn't that great either, the only incompletion he had was a pick as well. I think you were the one that said it last week on the show. Like the Falcons, I'm with you 100% should be drafting a quarterback in this upcoming draft because I like Taylor Heineke, but him and Ritter are just not the answer there. That team is just going to be stuck in mediocrity until they get a bona fide quarterback. And I heard someone in the radio say the other day they could be a prime spot for Russell Wilson.
Justin
If that's
Fields, Mac Jones.
Oh, they should go with
Mac Jones.
Fields in that case, or Mac Jones.
Mac Jones would be so Falcons.
He really would. Like it.
And I'm not saying that like they have this revolving door,
like
this revolving door at QB. It just feels like a Falcon move. It really does.
It'd be a good place for him, though. I mean, that's Cowboys. A fresh start. Like
the Cowboys game, real quick. Brandon Cooks is a free agent next summer, not this summer.
Okay, so
he has some stability.
He might get. I was gonna say no. He might get traded again if that's the case. Like,
oh God, I hope not. I feel bad for the guy. He's really good. Just keep him around. Yep. He's a good fit in Dallas.
But yeah, I mean, this was gotta feel good for the Bears here. Obviously, like you said, and their fans. Obviously, like you said, they get the #1 pick. Maybe not happy in the case that Justin Fields is starting to play a little better, so maybe that will muddy the waters on that pick. But they're clearly starting to improve. The defense, as we've said, has been getting better and better.
Not that pick. That's the Panthers pick, #1.
Yeah,
so that won't muddy the waters. Oh,
no,
in terms
Fields
of the future
playing, yeah.
QB. Yeah, okay. I don't know. Like, I think they should trade the #1 pick.
I still think that I was just gonna say that. I still think they should trade it. You saw how desperate a team was last year to get that pick, and look how it worked out, and what you were able to get for it. Like,
if you get, depending on who's at 3, and you get 3, you can get Marvin Harrison Jr. Conceivably, do they want to take that risk? I kind of doubt it. You got DJ Moore and Marvin Harrison, liking each other's comments on Instagram and stuff. Justin Fields, seem like they're friendly. Justin Fields, Marvin Harrison Jr., DJ Moore would be pretty sweet. And then at 10, you draft whoever, even if it stays at 10.
Tackle there, do something.
You draft a tackle. Great idea. J.C. Latham could be available. I don't think Joe Walter Olufashanu will, but J.C. Latham from Alabama, very good player. Something to consider. The Bears far and away have the most fascinating draft arc coming up, which is extremely exciting.
Absolutely.
And look, you're not guaranteed to get the #1 pick traded, as a fan, like see it get traded. So I want to see it happen again.
Mm-hmm.
Selfishly, I do.
Remind me, I don't know if you know off the top of your head because my brain just doesn't work. Did the Panthers have 2 last year and they flipped and traded up to, or who had 2 last year?
Panthers had like 9.
Did they? Okay, they were way further. Never mind then, because I was thinking the way I was looking at it is as soon as the season ends or when you can start making calls and stuff, I'd be calling up Washington, depending on where they finish in the draft. Like, clear team that needs a quarterback. Like, obviously, if they finish 2, that might make things difficult. Because they'll probably just take the guy that's the better off. But if they end up falling down the board, they win a game. I don't know what their math looks like. But I feel like the Commanders would be a pretty solid team for the Bears to call up and say, hey, you want the #1 overall pick? Get Caleb Williams because you desperately need a quarterback. Let's try to work on something here.
Yeah, the Commanders, you can make the case for QB. You can make the case for O-line because their O-line is dog shit.
Yep.
And receiver, like, Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel and Jahan Dotson are good, but like there's not a lot of consistency there. And that's partially because your quarterback gets hit a lot. But I don't know. Maybe if you're Sam Howell and you play great, what is that? How does that affect their draft standing?
True.
How they feel about the position? I kind of feel like they might run it back with Sam Howell a little bit, but obviously more so with like the benching and stuff. I'm kind of like 80-20 quarterback for them right now, but I still think
Yep.
there's a chance they run it with Howell. Maybe hope they get Penix or Nix in the second round. That could happen. So, actually, wonder what their second round looks like now with the Sweat trade.
I was going to
What their
ask you, do you
picks are
think
looking like.
Penix sticks into the second round after?
I don't know because you have to look at it this way. The draft at this point, unless the Rams get later in the first round, maybe they draft a quarterback for the future. I doubt it. If the Bucks make a run, maybe they're in that like 25, 26 range. They feel comfortable with Penix, but um, I kind of wonder if Penix like plays really good in the national and just jumps into the top 20 and goes to some
Could see
team
it.
there.
Mhm.
Um, I just don't know if he'll jump that high. But if he jumps in the late first round, like who's going to take him? Are the Ravens? No. Are the 49ers? No. The Cowboys? No. Dolphins? No. Texans? No. Lions? Like Jared Goff isn't going to be there
Probably
forever,
not.
but they're probably not. Like they took Hendon Hooker. But the Eagles? No. The Chiefs? No. The Bills? No. And then it gets the Rams, the Jaguars, the Colts. Colts? No.
Yeah.
Jaguars? No. Then the Bucks. So um, we'll see. We'll see. And then if he gets into that top 20, you got teams like the Saints and the Broncos, and the Vikings and the Raiders. So that's where things can get interesting if he really gets that much hype. It'll depend on how he tests at the combine as well.
Mhm.
A little draft tangent, but we're back in week 17. Colts 23, Raiders 20. Um, this game didn't tell me a lot about either team. Not that it
Mhm.
really matters
I
for
don't
the
see it. I
Raiders.
don't know how it could either.
Like you can't really get excited if you're a Colts fan. I'm sorry. Like, do you really think they're gonna beat anybody?
In the
I don't really know
playoffs,
how you
no.
could. No, like maybe it's anything's possible, but I don't think so. Devonte Adams finally had a Devonte Adams like game, but in classic Raiders fashion, they
They
managed
lose. Yeah.
to lose, and his targets were 13 for 21. So what happened on those eight? Is my question.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a good win to stay in the mix with the Colts. That's all my real takeaway is, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot. I mean, Jonathan Taylor looked good, 21 rushes, 96 yards, and a touchdown. So, he's looking like he's, fully healthy, ready to go. Um, I don't know how Minshew's going to look in a playoff game. Like, I don't know how much trust you have in him as a Colts fan. He's been good this year, but when the lights shine brightest, does he step up? You mentioned the biggest thing though. If you're a Raiders fan, you got to be happy with. It stinks that it happened in week 17. He finally bounces back, but getting some, vintage Devontae Adams production, good to see if you're a Raiders fan. Other than that, like you said, there's not a whole lot to take away from this game.
No, there isn't. Texans 26, Titans 3. CJ Stroud, decent in his first game back. I wasn't really expecting a huge game from him. 24 for 32, 213, and a touchdown, only one rush. Will Anderson, who's questionable, I believe, going into this week, had 2 sacks. Derek Barnett, who they got on waivers for free from the Eagles, had a sack and a half. And Rankins and Hughes had one. Hinish had half sack. Um, Rankins factored in on the 13-yard scoop and score. And Will Levis leaves with a foot injury. So I wonder, I haven't looked at his status, if the Titans give Malik Willis a full game as a little showcase, see if
Probably
anybody
not.
wants him, because probably not.
Yeah, they
But
hate
and
that kid for some reason.
they're probably gonna lose Tannehill. So maybe he's just the backup next year for Will Levis. But I don't know. I wonder if some team will trade for Malik Willis and just give up a late round pick or something. Because
Wouldn't be the worst thing.
had a bizarre draft season with the hype of being a top 10 pick and going in the third round. Maybe someone believes in him, but nothing crazy in this game. Just the Titans are down and out. Texans took advantage. It's a big win for them. Titans got nothing to play for besides draft order, so I'm sure they'll be okay with this. And Vrabel's not happy, so we'll see what happens with them
Yeah,
this
he looks like
offseason.
a guy that I feel like kind of knows the end
He
is
wants
near.
out.
Like he's just wants
I
out,
think he
kind of
wants
coaching out
out.
the
Not even like not even the end is near. Like I think
yeah.
he's kind of done.
He's done there. I mean, if you're him, I mean, I don't know how you can't be frustrated. That team just has kind of been the definition of mediocre, average the last couple of years. Like I know not Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins signing was a bigger one for them this year, but that obviously didn't really work out in the end. So it is what it is in Tennessee. Like you said, the biggest thing for this one was getting CJ Stroud back and getting him, some reps for a pretty important Week 18 game coming up.
Yeah, agreed. Jaguars 26, Panthers nothing, Ryan.
We won't. You and I have been burned twice. We're not betting on the
Bad to
Panthers, or
pick the
not betting, but we're
Panthers.
not picking on the Panthers anymore.
No,
It
no,
is a death
no.
sentence.
They truly have nothing to play for anymore.
Yep.
Travis Etienne took advantage, 102 yards and 2 touchdowns, 16 yards to the air. Brandon McManus was big to the air, but it didn't really matter because they would have won even without those 12 field goals, to be honest, or 12 field goals, 12 points from field goals. Josh Allen, not the one you're thinking of, had 3 sacks, 6 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and 4 quarterback hits. Trayvon Walker had 2 sacks as well. And a little bit of quiet year for him, I feel, but I think there's always room for a breakout season next year. And their defense is really good. And, when you shut a team out, even if they suck 0 points, that's good. But this doesn't change really anything about the Jaguars.
Just going to say that. You are beaten up on just the underprivileged and undermanned, underpowered, however you want to talk about it, Panthers. Bryce Young looked like early season Bryce Young, so we kind of had his flash in the pan moment for, a couple of weeks here. I'm still not sold on the Jaguars. I won't be until, they prove me wrong, because they are still, to me, as fraudulent gets.
Yeah, they're not doing shit. Rams Giants 26-25 Rams. Puka Nacua is now, I believe, 24 yards away from the rookie record, something like that. Kyron Williams is a monster. Gonna go high in fantasy drafts next year. He won't play. Cooper Kupp won't play this week. Tyrod played pretty good, honestly. Surprisingly. Wando Robinson continues to become a fixture in their offense a little bit. Darius Slayton was good. Both defenses were stellar. And this was a fun game.
Yeah, I mean, not to take away from the game, or maybe it kind of is, because like you said, Taylor played pretty well. But if you're a Giants fan, I don't know how the hell you feel about the season, because both quarterbacks that had to come in and play for the guy that you just paid millions and millions of dollars for, both DeVito and Taylor have looked like far superior options this year, at least in my opinion, than Daniel Jones. And maybe that's just my Daniel Jones bias showing and how much I don't like the player. But that might be a question that needs answering, or maybe it comes up in the offseason for the Giants is, DeVito looked good at times. Tyrod Taylor's been serviceable in his career. Daniel Jones, did we, really just pay him a ton of money for who knows what with him? But yeah, I mean, this was an interesting one. I thought the Giants were going to come back, but obviously they just fall short in the end.
Gee,
I don't know, like Rams
so
too. I know you said that like Rams are one of the teams that you wouldn't want to see in the playoffs right now. They've had a couple of these games these last 3 weeks where they're giving leads away, not playing to the end, to the final buzzer or whistle, whatever you want to call it. So I don't know. Like I'm kind of with you too. Like they still find ways to win these close games, but they've been kind of shaky these last couple of weeks. Not really the time for these type of problems to be coming up. And like you said, they're not going to be able to mend anything, because I feel like every starter for them is out this week. So they're fine with where they are going to the playoffs, it looks like, and we'll see if they can, continue to play well going in.
Yeah, I don't know. They just, underachiever vibes coming into the year, or not underachiever vibes, just like low in the standings in the league. Making the playoffs, Matthew Stafford.
They'll take it, absolutely.
Against the Lions, too, if they play the Lions, I'm just saying.
That'd be, yeah. Keep an eye on that game.
That would be awesome. Cardinals 35, Eagles 31. I bet the Cardinals at plus 320.
Smart move.
Too easy to. I mean, the Eagles are pathetic.
They're fraudulent.
It's so awesome. Their linebackers are terrible, and there's not a lot of good linebackers in the draft. Not a particularly strong position from what I've seen. So good luck. They also let Christian Ellis, one of their linebackers, go on waivers to the Patriots. So, the Cardinals played pretty good. Like, honestly, Kyler, maybe his best game of the season, didn't light the score sheet up, but played really efficient football, didn't even run the ball a lot. And they still won. James Conner showed you what he can do if he can stay healthy. It's been tough for him though in his career. And man, like the Eagles, are you hopeful of even winning the first round if you're an Eagles fan?
Nope.
It's an epic collapse.
I just find it hilarious that this collapse happens. There's one correlation to it. They're just downward spiral. It to me seems like when they named Matt Patricia the defensive coordinator, it was getting more of duties calling the defensive plays. Because since then, you said it, their defense has been absolutely atrocious. You allow 449 total yards of offense to the Cardinals, and the Cardinals have looked a little better of late. So they're not like the early season Cardinals where nothing was going right for them, or they were getting killed by teams left and right. But that amount of offense, that amount of yardage to that team, 32 first downs allowed is insane. They go 50% on third down conversions, and the Cardinals possess the ball for almost 40 minutes in the game. That's ridiculous, especially when you're playing the Eagles. Like, obviously, we know the Eagles should be better than that. I'm with you. If I'm an Eagles fan, I don't feel confident, and I don't know who their first round matchup would be. I've been trying to look up the playoff picture, so let's see if I got it here. Uh, as of right now, as the 5 seed, they would get what? Help me do the math here.
They get the Bucks.
I think, yeah, they get the winner of the That's right, the NFC
Yeah.
South. I would take the Bucks in that game. I think we maybe talked
I
about this
would.
last week.
Yeah.
I'd take the Bucks all day in that matchup because the Eagles suck right now. Like, they can't. They scored, but they couldn't. Watching a little bit of that game, they had no answer anytime the Cardinals did anything, or when the Eagles did something, the Cardinals were able to punch right back. So they can't stop anybody right now, and there are a lot of problems with that team.
It would be so funny, even with their record being wherever it ends up with the first round exit, to see Nick Sirianni get fired.
You think they'd fire him after 2 years, or 2 years would be removed from a Super Bowl?
No, but for the collapse,
It'd be funny,
and
absolutely. Don't get me wrong.
the
'Cause I
locker
don't.
room bullshit going on,
Mhm.
it'd be really funny. Really funny, but I'm not counting on it. Ravens 56. Dolphins finesse bitch team. I've said this 19. The right matchup, the Dolphins are getting smacked in the first round. So are the
Absolutely.
Chiefs. How can you not absolutely love the Ravens to win the Super Bowl? 18 for 21, 321, 321 yards and 18 completions is absurd.
That's
5
ridiculous. Yeah.
touchdowns.
Talk about locking up the MVP, like you said earlier.
No picks, 6 rushes for 35 yards. Gus Edwards gets in the end zone. Justice Hill looked really good. Melvin Gordon got in the freaking end zone. Zay Flowers was great. His touchdown, he was wide open, made a nice move. Isaiah Likely gets in the end zone twice, and Charlie Kolar, who they took, I believe, in the first round, might be his first touchdown, but he gets in. Like when you're getting depth tight ends get a free touchdown, you're gonna take that. I bet on Lamar Jackson to score a touchdown rushing. He did not. Kind of weird in a game like this. Justin Madubuike, Odafe Owe, and old friend Kyle Van Noy, shout out, all have sacks in this. 2 interceptions, 6 pass deflections, 5 tackles for loss, 4 quarterback hits, and a fumble recovery from Trenton Simpson. Devin Achane was really the lifeblood of the offense, and they lost Bradley Chubb to a torn ACL. So,
yeah, it's not looking great for the Dolphins. So obviously, you hope for a fast recovery for him, but like huge loss there on the defensive end. You said it; they're getting torched on offense, or getting torched by the other team. So that'll be on defense in my mess up there. But yeah, I mean the Ravens. You said it. They after the dismantling the 49ers, now you dismantle the Dolphins. Like they might be the best all around team in the NFL. And again, a scary team going into the playoffs, so they can just beat you over the head on offense, or they could suffocate you on defense, and there really is no in between.
Yeah, people were talking with the whole Lamar thing, like worried about him and holding this up in the playoffs. I don't know how you can be worried right now.
Even at like I wouldn't say I'm worried, but I'm still one of those people that like you got to prove it to me. But in that sense, like their defense could just come out and I feel like pitch a shutout in the playoffs, depending on who they get. So it's not like they really need Lamar to play fantastic because this is, I think, one of the better all around Ravens teams we've seen in quite some time.
It is. It's freaking incredible. Saints 23, Bucks 13. I think this was one the Bucks let slip away.
For sure.
I think they should have won this game. I think the Saints are very beatable. Derek Carr played okay. Like, I guess efficient football is the term. Didn't really light it up, though. Taysom Hill gets in the end zone. Juwan Johnson had a great game. And the defense was good. And, Baker played okay, but those two picks he threw are costly in a game like this. And I guess it just adds more intrigue. Does it really though with the NFC South? Because it's just
It's
like
not really.
winner gets in now, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess we just wait to see.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is a game that I think the Buccaneers absolutely screwed themselves on because a game they should have won at home, but it's the NFC South. I feel like there really never is a favorite in these matchups unless you're playing the Panthers because all these teams are pretty, at least the top three teams are pretty evenly matched when it comes to just how average they really are.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. 49ers 27, Commanders 10. This game was once 10-10. Did not end 10-10. The Niners scored 17 unanswered points. I missed on McCaffrey's over rushing and receiving due to the injury. Very sad.
Yep.
He is sitting out this week, smartly so. I think he'll be ready for the playoffs. Not like he needs to be if they get a first round bye. Can they get a first round bye at this point?
Uh, the 49ers,
Wait, they already have one.
I was just gonna say they have the first
Oh,
round bye.
I don't know why I just like seemingly mixed them up with another team in my head. Brain fart. Yeah, so McCaffrey's got a couple weeks to recover.
Yep.
Business as usual. I don't have any big takeaways. Sam Howell was not good again. He's gonna play in week 18. Maybe his last chance with the Commanders.
Yep. Yeah, I got nothing else. You
Making-
you took the words right out of my mouth. Business as usual for the 49ers. Nice bounce back win. You would have liked to have made, or they probably would have liked to have seen a little bit more points put on the board against the Commanders. 'Cause like you said, it was close at one time. But they'll take a win. They'll take the first round bye, and as you mentioned, get everybody healthy for hopefully a deep playoff run for their sake.
Yes, yes. You know who's gonna need what they got against the Seahawks to make a playoff run? Is Steelers because the ground game in their 30-23 win over the Seahawks was dominant. Najee Harris 27 for 122 and 2, 13 for 75, a touchdown for Jalen Warren, and 4 receptions for 23 yards. Mason Rudolph didn't really have to do a lot because the run game was so good. Kenneth Walker had a decent game on the other side. DK Metcalf showed up, but just wasn't enough. Didn't catch a ton of this game, to be honest. That's really all I
I did
have.
not
I'm
either.
just going off the outline a little bit.
That's fair enough. Yeah, I mean, this is like if the Steelers want to make noise in the playoffs, this is how they're going to do it. Like you're going to have to get the run game going. One of the two guys. I feel like usually it's one or the other, but this week, like you said, both hit pay dirt pretty well. George Pickens has kind of had a resurgence these last couple of games, so Rudolph is seemingly getting his number one receiver, which is good, and he just doesn't have to make mistakes with the ball. He's been, like you said, efficient. He's been smart with the football. So if the Steelers, and again, the Steelers defense is very good. It's been good all season, for the most part. Maybe they catch a good matchup in the first round of the playoffs if they're able to get in, hold the position that they have now. Maybe they catch somebody off guard and surprise you. But again, kind of in wait and see mode because I don't know how much I trust Mason Rudolph in a big
Yeah,
playoff
no.
game coming up.
Yeah, maybe AB's been in Pickens' ear because Pickens seems to have a quarterback he likes now, and Pickens has been liking social media posts about how Kenny Pickett sucks. So,
Oh God,
sick attitude on that
that's
guy.
not good. Yeah,
Do we even have to talk about Broncos and Chargers? The Broncos won 16-9. This game sucked.
yeah. You don't want to talk about the Will Lutz and Cameron Dicker
No,
game or
no, I
how
really
Jarrett
don't.
Stidham played.
No, I don't. Let's skip it.
All right.
Chiefs. What are we gonna say?
Now, yeah, there's not much
Chiefs.
to like.
Yeah, Chiefs 25, Bengals 17. Expected the Bengals to win this one. I think it would have been a big confidence booster for them. Harrison Butker is just money though. Patrick Mahomes didn't do a whole lot. Isaiah Pacheco continues to run like a cartoon character, but he's pretty good.
Really does.
Rashee Rice is great. It's crazy what adding a guy like DeAndre Hopkins really could have done for this Chiefs team. But when you have Rice show up like this and Pacheco has quietly had some great games like this, I feel like nobody talked to him about him that much. You think of Mahomes in this offense and Kelsey, who has sucked since he started dating. Taylor Swift's not that good. And the defense was really good. We saw earlier in the year when they were kind of struggling, they were like a number 2 defense in the league, became more their identity, and it was here as well. And of course, in this case, in a relatively close game, even though it was an 8-point spread, 8-point margin, they needed it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm not getting to the point where I'm going to count the Chiefs out, but I'm inching closer and closer to that. If they're gonna have to go on a run, it's gonna have to be on their defense because their offense is not striking fear into anybody. Like you said, the fact that Harrison Butker was pretty much their MVP in this game, with 6 field goals, the Chiefs really couldn't move the ball after they got past get into the red zone rather against the Bengals. The Bengals defense has been pretty good this season, so I'm not gonna knock them. But you watch them, it's obvious. Like it's Pacheco. You mentioned it. Travis Kelce has done nothing really the whole second half of the season. Rajee Rice is the top guy. At least if there's one bright spot for Kansas City, is he has really blossomed into their true number one receiver. And he's been good. But they are not the same team, and it's going to be interesting. Like I said a couple weeks ago or last week, be interesting to watch the Chiefs have to go on the road for the first time ever, and maybe get popped in the first round, and then maybe someone or some people with some brains will start to talk about that legacy of Mahomes everyone wants to keep talking about.
Mhm.
Facing some adversity for the first time this year. It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Yes. Let's look at Travis Kelce, shall we? His
Sure.
largest receiving total since the 26th of my birthday of November is 91, and he has one touchdown since the 20th, and dating back before then, his last touchdown before then was October 22nd.
I still
So
think he's
since
more
October
hurt than they're
22nd,
letting
he has
on
two
too.
touchdowns. Not so dominant, but people will still, dick ride him over Rob Gronkowski. Not me ever.
Those people are idiots.
Packers, they are idiots, Ryan. Packers 33, Vikings 10. This is a statement game from the Packers, I think, even though the Vikings are not very good at this point and their quarterback situation is in shambles. The Packers showed up. Jordan Love is not making me eat my words completely because I was kind of in this position with Trevor Lawrence last year, and look what happened with him this year. So I'm not fully in on Jordan Love yet. I'm gonna wait and see for another year. But Aaron Jones, healthy for once. Like the guy can never stay healthy. Finally pops off. I feel like he hasn't had a game like this all year. Bo Melton, shout out any Rutgers fans listening. 105 yards to the air. So he bounced around a little bit after getting drafted. Maybe finds a little home with a guy like Dontavian Wicks out in Green Bay. Steps up. Jaden Reed is awesome. I feel like I heard nothing about him coming out of Michigan
Yeah,
State
he
last
burst
year,
onto the scene big time.
and he's real good. Yeah, I mean, Green Bay was money. They had 4 sacks on defense, an interception from Corey Ballantyne, 14 quarterback hits, 7 pass deflections, 2 tackles for loss, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. And the Vikings had nothing.
Yeah, I want to say, like you said, this is a statement game for the Packers, but I feel like they've had moments like this all season. And then, like this week, would it surprise you if they lose to the Bears at home too?
No,
Like,
no,
it's keep saying it. They've been up and
I'm not
down, but
saying
this
it.
is where they're at in a transition period. They have been putting some things together that you can build on. Like you said, Love has played pretty well down the stretch. Their offense is starting to click a little bit. Aaron Jones, as you mentioned, is getting healthier, which is good to see because when he is healthy, he is not a top back in the league, but one of the better ones for sure. One of the more reliable ones. I feel like when he is out there, from a production standpoint. And you said it too. Reed has been excellent. He is kind of transitioned into their number one in Green Bay. Again, a young team that's on the up for sure.
No doubt. Let's get into week 18, starting with Steelers and Ravens. I don't care if Tyler Huntley's playing. I am not picking the Ravens to lose.
I'm with you. The Ravens defense is just too good. Like I just said it with with the whole Lamar thing. If Taylor Huntley struggles in this game, the Ravens defense will be able to pick him up. I feel like no problem.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any qualms there. Texans and Colts. I'm going with the Texans. Playing for more. Not playing for more, but like I feel like there's kind of still got to be a little bit of that storyline, like internally in that locker room. Like nobody expects us to be good. I feel like it hasn't really come out, but it has to be kind of on their minds.
You got to think,
Like
yeah.
getting into the playoffs would be incredible this year. Obviously, it would be for the Colts too after losing Anthony Richardson, but CJ Stroud's back. Wanting to get to the playoffs his first year. I think the Texans are going to come out fast and win this game on the road.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it happened with Matt Ryan last year, but it definitely happened with Carson Wentz. I feel like the Colts, when they get to these positions, because I feel like they're in, a winner go home type of situation. I feel like a decent amount these last couple of years at the end of the year, they always seem to find a way to lose them. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I know for a fact that Carson Wentz year at the end of the year, they had a chance to either get to the playoffs or do something. And they just completely whiffed in the final week of the season. Same thing's going to happen here against the Texans. I think the Texans are a better team. I like CJ Stroud obviously more in this spot than Gardner Minshew, so I'm gonna go with you and go with the Texans as well.
All right. Bucks Panthers. Shout out to the Boston PWHL team finally on the board.
Nice.
Got on the board in the second period. Don't know who the player is, but that's okay. I'll learn as the season goes on. Know some of the guys or some of the gals. Bucks and Panthers. We are not
Both
picking
taking the
Panthers.
Panthers. Oh, we're not. Damn
Yes.
it. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
Even after that
Um,
letdown last week from the Bucks, they're gonna go right back to them.
It's the Bucks. Come on.
Yep.
Let's be real here.
Yep.
Panthers have nothing to play for. Browns and Bengals.
A game that you was affected by the people sitting.
Jeff Driscoll revenge game?
Probably not.
No, it's Bengals. Come on. Jeff Driscoll is one of the worst quarterbacks that has played football in the past 5 years.
Mhm.
So I don't think they will do much, and that's okay.
Browns should be
'cause they're in
sitting
the playoffs.
everybody in this game.
Yes, they should be, especially with Amari Cooper not playing last week.
Yep.
Should be sitting. Vikings, Lions. It's Lions.
Yep.
Round into form. Dan Campbell won't let them fuck around, I don't think.
Vikings are going
easy.
back to Nick Mullins. I don't know if you saw that. I don't know how
yeah,
that
he stinks.
inspires any fear into the Lions or anybody like that. But not me.
Mhm.
I'm going with the Lions as well.
Yep. Jets, Patriots, Falcons, Saints. I'm going with the Saints. This is just a situation where the Falcons have a chance to get in the playoffs, and I feel like they blow it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do
Yep.
they have a chance to get in the playoffs, actually?
Yeah, if they win, they're 8-9. The Saints are 8-9,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
somebody else will be 8-9 as well. The Buccaneers if they lose. So Falcons very well
Yeah.
could get in.
That would be so bad.
Yep.
Jaguars, Titans is the Jaguars, even though they suck. The Titans have just, packed it in. So
Yeah,
I-
Jaguars have more to play for. Like they still
Mhm.
got to figure out, if they can get the division, try to get some seeding. So this is a must win for them. I'm going to take the Jaguars as well.
and Minnesota just scored again. Seahawks and Cardinals. I really, really want to pick the Seahawks or the Cardinals.
I almost
might
did.
live bet them again, but going with the Seahawks. They got a lot to play for. Good team. Maybe not great team. Definitely not great team, but trying to get in. So I'm gonna send the positive vibes their way.
That's why I'm taking them. They're in desperation mode. They kind of hurt themselves last week after losing to a Steelers team. They probably shouldn't have, even though the Steelers played one of their better all-around games of the year. But it is the Seahawks, like I said, in a desperation, gotta win mode.
Absolutely. Bears at Packers. Going to Lambeau. I'm going with the Packers.
I wanted to take the Bears, but I just couldn't do it.
Two.
Yeah, I
Two.
couldn't bring myself to do it for some reason.
Jordan Love wants to get in playoffs. Are they out of the playoffs? I've seen that.
Packers know they're in it, I think. Or they're in the hunt. I had it up a
They're in
second
the
ago.
hunt, right?
They are in the
I'm
hunt.
totally drawing a blank on
They are
some
the
of these French teams.
current 7th seed, I believe.
Okay.
Yep.
Chiefs Chargers. I am going with the Chargers because I think the Chiefs are gonna sit a lot of players. And I think Blaine Gabbert stinks.
I'm gonna say they're already sitting Mahomes, but I just think
if you're Easton Stick too, this is your last chance to potentially, show other teams.
It really is, but that's why I
do.
can't bring myself to not bet on, but pick a team that's led by a hockey stick. So I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. Better defense, better all around team. Maybe not better all around team because as we said, the Chiefs have not been good this year. But it is still the Chiefs. Even if they're gonna sit Mahomes, and if I were them, I would probably sit Kelsey as well. But they'll find a way to win this game. I have more faith in them finding a way to win this game than the Chargers, or the Chargers will find a way to lose it more so than that.
Yeah, true, but they don't have Brandon Staley, so
that's true. Yeah.
Broncos at Raiders. It's the Raiders. The Broncos have really fumbled what should have been a playoff berth. Rather easily with the way they're playing, but things have gone south, and Russell Wilson isn't playing for financial purposes and stuff. So I'm going with the Raiders on the road.
As am I, and maybe a little bit of a spike because I think I'm not saying I love Russell Wilson or anything, or huge Russell Wilson fan, but that situation is kind of shitty. You guy beats the Chiefs, you ask him to take a pay cut, not a great situation there in Denver. So I'm gonna pick the Raiders as well. I think that Broncos team is just a dumpster fire waiting to happen.
Yeah, it's just a weird franchise.
Yep.
Eagles and Giants. I can't pick Tyrod Taylor against the Eagles.
I wanted
the Eagles
so
need
bad
to win just to figure it out. I really wanted to pick them too, but I'm going with the Eagles. I'm probably going to be wrong. I feel like the Giants are going to win this game, but I don't know. I can't.
I think it'll be close. I feel like some people might think this might be Eagles get right game right for the playoffs. I think this might come down right to the wire because we said the Eagles are broken. That they are not a good team this year.
They are.
Which is crazy to say about an 11-5 team.
Yeah, true. Rams at 49ers. Sam Darnold versus Carson Wentz. Going with Sam Darnold. I
feel like we're living in 2000 and 16, 17. Was Darnold in the NFL in 16?
it's funny to think that like Puka Nakua's potential record-breaking game, if he hits that yardage total, is in jeopardy because Carson Wentz is just that bad.
That's right. I mean, I was gonna pick the Rams until I saw not even that they were sitting everybody, but as soon as I saw Carson Wentz was the starting quarterback, like if they played the rest of their team, I still would have picked against him because I just hate Carson Wentz that much. I think he sucks. So I'm gonna go with the 49ers as well.
Yeah, got to. Cowboys, Commanders, Cowboys don't really need an explanation there, to be
No, yeah,
honest.
they're gonna smoke the, especially if they get a chance to play for
Mm.
the division, they're gonna smoke the Commanders.
Yes, I did say the Dolphins are a finesse bitch team, but I'm taking them at home to beat the
I'm
Bills.
surprised you're picking them. I really am.
I don't know. It's just this is vibes. I can't act like there's anything else but vibes here. I'm going
Okay.
Dolphins.
It would be so Bills to get this close, have this great, not maybe great comeback, but a comeback nonetheless from, being out of the playoffs to now playing for the division in week
Yeah,
18. It would be so Buffalo for them to lose this game and then, have to kind of sit around and wait to see if they end up, because you sent it to me today too. There's a situation where if, was it Pittsburgh and somebody else wins, that Buffalo's completely out of the
Jacksonville.
playoffs. Yeah. Or if they lose, rather, I think it was. Um, I'm gonna take the Bills though. They've come this far. They got to break through at some point. And plus, I want to see the Bills in the playoffs. Like if there's a chance they don't get in, that would suck. Um, so obviously they're one of the more prolific teams when they are going right. And I fully am under the impression, like you said, that the Dolphins are a finesse bitch team that finishes out with a crushing loss at home to send them to a wild card game instead of a division title.
All right, there you have it. There's football.
We had breaking,
Um,
maybe not breaking Patriots news. We could say breaking Patriots news. Not that we're going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but I did see scrolling through Twitter the Pro Bowl rosters came out. The Patriots do not have a Pro Bowler, which I thought we were under baseball rules in the NFL, where every team has to have at least one All Star, one Pro Bowler. Patriots, for the first time since 2000, do not have a Pro Bowler on the roster. So, if that is newsworthy to anybody, or in case people missed that, I thought I'd just throw that out there. Kind of interesting little tidbit, but like I said, not going to spend too much time on the Pro Bowl unless you had any thoughts on that particular
no, I don't
nugget.
at
All right,
all.
fair enough.
Um, Bruins. The Bruins lost four. Now they've won four.
Starting to wake up a little bit.
The yin and the yang, New Jersey on New Year's Eve. Um, 5-2 win. Hallmark stops 31-33. They get outshot 33-31. That'll be a theme. They got dominated on the draws. They won 27.5% of draws. That is one of the worst I've ever seen in an NHL game. But they were 2 for 2 in the power play. Tough start with Luke Hughes scoring the second. Hischier scores first. Little tic-tac-toe, bang, bang, boom. Just the type of stuff the Devils are capable of. And they just let Luke Hughes walk in. Not great. But the Bruins had 5 unanswered goals in this one. A vintage DeBrusque goal, 2 from Boston, 2 from Shattenkirk. I don't know if you remember this, but I forgot Brad Marchand flew into the offensive zone to make that disruption behind the net that eventually led to the DeBrusque goal. I haven't seen him forecheck that quickly in a while. Not like I'm knocking him, but like he looked like he wanted to kill somebody. A typical like half wrister from Brendan Carlo shot with purpose goes to Pasta. Kevin Shattenkirk rocks. He's got 3 goals his past like 2 or 3 games. He has 2 here. Pasta had 3 points. Marchand, Coyle, DeBrusque, and Shattenkirk all have 2. Business as usual. The Devils need to figure it out. They need a goalie. I think they need John Gibson from Anaheim, personally. Detroit the next day. I was a little worried about this one. Don't like back to back, especially when you're going on the road. Not super far away though in Detroit. They went 5-3. Swayman tops 27 of 30. The Red Wings outshot the Bruins 30-24. They get outshot again. They've been doing that a lot lately. And they got dominated on the draws again. They just won 32.1%. Kind of nuts. But tis is the peril of losing Patrice Bergeron and in part Krejci. Penalty kill was awesome. They killed 5 of 6. Pastrnak with a nice flip down the ice to Frederick, buries it on the back end and absolutely hammers Alex Lyon unintentionally, who slid out of the crease to try and make the save. And then Sherrod comes up to Frederick, and Frederick is just like, "You want to go?
Yeah.
Like, fight or flight." That is Trent Frederick in a nutshell right there. His second one, he absolutely rifled home. Jake Wallman's ninth one. The lack of goalie interference on the Rasmussen goal was weird, but I guess they said Carlo kind of forced his stick in there. Still think it probably shouldn't have been a goal because it affected his ability to make the save. It was on the glove side, hit the glove hand. And I'm just happy Jake Wallman didn't do some goofy ass looking gritty after he scored or something. Because he's the only player in the league that does that, and it's really kind of cringe. Coyle looked like Bumper Bergeron at first, more of the slot though, kind of in that area though. I like to see Bruins centers taking that role. I think Coyle is taking a lot of Bergeron's role this year, more responsible defensively on the draws. Obviously they put bad the draws this game, but Coyle's been tasked to take on more, and he's on legit 30-30 pace, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, he's been
Will he
good.
hit it? I don't know, but pretty nice, Especially Pavel Zacha hasn't been like amazing lately, so it's kind of picked up the slack. You've hoped for a little bit from Georgian Merkulov, but he's been a little tentative, I think, kind of like afraid to make mistakes. But I don't know, it doesn't really help him either when he has
His
moments like he
lines
had
are
one
changing, I feel like, a lot too. I
lines
think,
change.
yeah.
He had one chance off the post. Has made a couple nice defensive plays here and there. But he just doesn't play in the third period. Like 2 games in a row. I don't think I saw him again last night against Columbus in the third period once.
That's the one thing real quick, I don't
Yeah,
like
drives
about
me
Jim
crazy too.
Montgomery is it drives me insane. Like the constant line changes. I think you talked about this either last week or a week before. Like we keep them together, get some sort of chemistry going with some of these guys, especially a guy you just called up who's playing, his first couple NHL games. Like that's a guy I feel like you don't want to be jerking around. Especially in game. Like you can do that before the game, obviously mix some things up, but the constant switching, during the game is really starting
Yeah.
to, annoy me when it comes to Montgomery.
So his debut is against New Jersey, and he plays with Van Riemsdyk and Frederick. And then the next game, load management, I assume, in large part, Van Riemsdyk sits. Like, do you want this kid to establish chemistry or not? Like, because maybe it's kind of like they're just giving him the reps because when Patra comes back, you have Coyle Geeky at this point, not Zacha. And Zacha, if you need him at center. And then Patra and Beecher. But who knows, like, maybe they're not super high on Beecher. He didn't play against Columbus. I don't know what the deal is there. Apparently, I saw someone say there was some sort of injury. Didn't see anything about that, but apparently someone saw him get hurt late in the Detroit game and miss some time. So I don't remember that. DeBrusque gets an empty netter. JT Comfort scores to make it interesting, but Zacha gets another empty netter, and the Bruins close this one out 5-3. Linus Olmark in the Columbus game, another win, 4 in a row at Columbus, their last time of the year. Sean Kuraly recovering from a scary injury, so he didn't play. Mason Lohrei and Georgian Merkulov from this area in Ohio State go back. They led the stretch before the game as well for the team. Shots were 27-27. And again, like only won 40.4% of draws. I don't know what's going on in the faceoff dot lately, but they need to figure it out. Only allowed one power play to Columbus. That's pretty good. Beecher sat out. JVR had 3 points. Shattenkirk, kind of like a Brandon Carlo-esque goal, like a half wrister, kind of caught Spencer Martin off guard, gets goal scoring started. Kent Johnson with a rip ties it up. Can't believe they had him down to AHL for as long as they did. Like, he's just so good, and they need to give him NHL ice. Because when he converts, he looks pretty good. I bet on Jake DeBrusque to score. JVR ruined that when he got the double deflection. My uncle, though, bet on Trent Frederick and Kevin Shattenkirk to score separately. So I don't know if he had the crystal
Jesus.
ball.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Unbelievable.
Should go play the
Shout out.
lottery.
Oh my God, like unbelievable. I bet DeBrusque and Merkulov. Merkulov's back in his around his college stomping grounds, and he's due. He hasn't played amazing, but I was rooting for him. I was putting the energy
There isn't
out there.
anything real quick you could do or say to make me ever bet on Shattenkirk as an anytime goal scorer, I think.
He's scoring lately, though. Give him
I
credit.
guess so, yeah.
I love
Absolutely.
Kevin Shattenkirk, and I think the reason he's out of the lineup sometimes is load management. He's got not only on the back half of 30 played hard minutes on a bad Anaheim team for a little while. Now that he's settled into lower minutes and a little bit of power play time, I still think they're kind of keeping the legs fresh and giving him a night off every once in a while. Don't have Ian Mitchell around, but Parker Wotherspoon, I've been okay with, really okay with. I think he plays a pretty safe game, doesn't try to do too much. Danton Heinen scores on a rebound. JVR Frederick Heinen wasn't perfect all game, but when it worked, it worked. And I don't know if it'll last, but Trent Frederick was pretty comfortable back in the middle for the first time in a while. And Frederick just keeps scoring, man.
He's been
That
great lately.
hesitation on that pass that he got from JVR to kind of wait and find his spot just shows how he's evolved as an offensive player, as a goal scorer. He's at 10 now. Hit 20, 25. 25, he gets real hot. I'm penciling him for 20 at this point. And I wonder at some point if he keeps playing like this, if Trent Frederick is a top 6 winger this year. Maybe Geeky moves back down at some point. Zaka moves to center. Marchand and Frederick are your top 2 left wingers. But at this point, I think Marchand Coyle at DeBrusque, with the way it's been working, is staying together for a while. So maybe Frederick, Zaka, Pasternak. Didn't expect to see that line, but
No, absolutely not.
I don't know, man. Just throwing it out there because when Potter comes back, I don't think Frederick at center is lasting. Um, we'll see. The next point to monitor for Patra, which I totally forgot about. Shout out to Scott McLaughlin, said this today for anybody wondering. Didn't have a great tournament. Patra was pretty devastated that Canada got eliminated. Would have been a disaster if Sweden did too, if none of them were in the quarterfinals and just USA was. Someone asked Scott if they would send Patra back to juniors. And Scott said no. Sweeney said Patra will be back with the Bruins after the World Juniors. The next decision time, if there is one, would be as Zaka Patra approaches 40 games played, when this season would officially count as a full year of service. He's at 27 games right now. I'm not sure if the full year of service means he would go, they can decide whether they want to send him back to juniors at that point, or I think that might just mean he's AHL eligible. At this point, like, if you got to send Patra down to the AHL, like, I'm kind of cool with it. It all depends on, of course, how he plays when he comes back. But if he's kind of like, he's 19, like, he'll be okay. Doesn't have to go through waivers. I think he'd probably do pretty good in the AHL. I'll say this too. He had some moments in the World Juniors, but I think he has honestly looked more comfortable at the NHL level than he did playing against his peers, which was
Oh, really?
kind of weird.
That's bizarre.
He said he was kind of gripping the stick too tight. I agree. I don't know, that Canada just didn't have a lot of high end talent as usual, or as they usually do rather. And I don't know, wasn't a great tournament for him, but nothing I'm super concerned about with Matty P right now. Mason Lowry in this game took a puck to the mouth and was like spitting out blood. I believe he might have only lost one tooth. I saw. They were looking for a tooth at the TV timeout on the ice, or like after intermission, like something like that. Should be good for tomorrow though. Miraculously, I need at least a week if I lost a tooth in a hockey game.
For sure.
But these guys just are different. Like I said, they go from 4 straight L's to 4 straight W's, and things get harder now.
Yeah, I mean, you'll take it. A week ago or a couple weeks ago, we weren't feeling too great about this team, but they've kind of righted some wrongs here. I feel like they've gotten off to better starts, as we talked about last week. But as you mentioned, in these last couple, there's still some things you'd like to get figured out. The face-off percentages being the biggest glaring thing, which is crazy, and then still being outshot at times is your goal is a bilge out more so than not this year. But again, you'd like that to kind of phase its way out and have some of these more dominating performances where you never really have to sit there and go, oh, well, Swayman had to bail you out here, Olmark had to play out of his mind here. But they are getting more goals too, which is good to see as well.
Yeah, and I really liked how the power play's been playing lately too, more so
Yep.
like types of formation and look that we've seen in the past. Trent Frederick, 3 goals, 3 assists in his last 5. Jake DeBrusque, 2 goals, 4 assists in his last 4. And Shattenkirk is 3 goals in his last 3. Ty Anderson made a really good point on the latest episode of the Sports Hub Underground with Matt Dolph. That I've considered in the back of my head of trading Grizzly. Low rise good. Lindholm's had a rough year, but like he's mostly reliable. Do you consider a Matt Grizzly trade? And this will obviously depend on Forbert. Doesn't seem like he's coming back anytime soon. And Ty mentioned the lack of potential like rental defensemen. There's not a lot, and a lot of the pending UFAs like could just stick with their teams, and their teams are in playoffs or whatever. So Noah Hannafin's probably going to move. There's one. Chris Tanev might move. There's another. Both from the same team. Like Shane Gostisbehere is not going to move. Alec Martinez is not going to move. There's a litany of other names you can run down the list. Matt Grizzly's a pending UFA. in a position where the Bruins could potentially move on, especially if what Renald Lavoie said a couple weeks ago that seems to be the belief around the league that Noah Hannafin is going to end up a Bruin at the trade deadline, which would be massive.
I'd take that,
I think it's a
absolutely.
guy they would take. You lock down your defensive core for the next 2 or 3 years, depending on how much Lowry needs when his next contract's up. Of Lindholm, Hannafin, Lowry, pretty good. But you might have to trade a guy like Mason Lowry to get Noah Hannafin. I don't know, but kind of makes you think if you run down that left shot defense penny UFA list, a lot of these guys could stay or just stay with their own teams like beyond this year, or just they're not going to get traded because their teams are trying to make the playoffs. So that could commoditize a guy like Matt Grizzlick, where if the Bruins feel like they could trade him, a team that's really desperate and can't get one of these other guys that might be on the market from another team, they'd be like, okay, like the options aren't really there. We'll give you a 3rd-round pick for Grizzlick. Which in this season, he's definitely not worth a 3rd-round
No,
pick. I'll tell
God,
you that
no, you
much.
take it.
But you have to overpay at the deadline too. You got to remember that. If the Bruins really feel like they can move on from Grizzlick, I think they should. I really
Yeah,
do,
I'm
but
right there with
that'll
you. Like,
depend on Forbert.
we've talked about this kind of off air over text. Like, Grizzlick's kind of run the course for me. Like, he hasn't been good. I feel like he's never healthy anymore. Maybe that's just because of size. I feel like most of the time when I'm watching, a Bruins game, he tends to be getting his ass handed to him in the corners at times, which is obviously not great to watch. Again, the size thing is not one of his strong suits, but if they can get something for him, they could package him for something else of value. I'm fine with it because, like I said, I'm just kind of at my ends with Grizzlick here.
Yeah, and if Forbert's healthy, you know
Yeah, too
that's
creates a
good. But
log jam too. Like,
even though, like, if you trade Grizzlick and Forbert's out, or like you can't really rely on him to stay healthy. You can trade for a lower end defenseman if you really want to. I don't think they will. Maybe Waterspoon's their 3rd-pairing guy. He's played good enough, but I don't know. I think they're, in this scenario, they'd kind of count on Forward being healthy at some point. The deadline is until March. So,
plenty of time.
and speaking of Mason Lowry too, my concerns about him have largely been erased recently. I think his defensive game has improved a lot over the last couple of weeks. He looks more comfortable. He's not getting spun around. He's not getting caught, having to back check a lot, and his offensive game is still there. He can still pinch in down low. He can still walk the line a little bit when he needs to, and he's just smart. He's a much smarter offensive guy than he is in his own zone. But I think his defensive game is improving. He can still move pucks to the neutral zone. And I'm really encouraged to see Mason Lowry. He's adjusting well. And 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was a little worried about that. Now I'm really not. He's really settled in. Having McAvoy on your right side a lot of the times helps. And yeah, it's a huge thing. It's a huge thing because Grizzly and Forward are free agents next summer. You'd like to have an internal guy you can count on next year because I think both of them are probably going. So it's nice to see Mason Lowry rounding into form. Pittsburgh, we talked a little about this game last week, but we've adjusted the schedule here back to Wednesdays. Pittsburgh, Jake Gensel, same as last week, leading them in scoring 42 points in 36 games. They're still 7th in the Metro. They've won 7 of the last 10, though. So maybe the Penguins make a little run here. I don't know. They're just like not the typical exciting Penguins we're used to at the same time. So it's going to take a lot. Their goaltending has been fine, but they don't have good depth or defense, like I said last week. But they're rounding into form a little bit. Tampa, not normal Tampa. 2 nights later, both at home, by the way. 18, 16, and 5 on the year, 4th in the Atlantic. Nikita Kucherov is coming for the MVP. He's got 63 points in 38 games. But I'll tell you the next guy who's challenging him in the next game the Bruins have after this. He has 23 more points than their next highest scorer, who's Braden Point. Andrei Vasilevsky, not amazing since he's come back. He's 8-8 with a 294 and a 900 and 1 shutout, but a bigger goalie in his 30s coming back from back surgery. I think it could have been a lot worse. So I think you'll take it if you're Tampa, but we both know Andrei Vasilevsky is capable of more. They make the playoffs and he's healthy, can shut the door.
Yep.
Wow, that was a great little poem I did there. That rhymes.
Had good flow to it as well.
This is a game, thank you, that with Trent Frederick and Jake DeBrusk heating up, you're going to need them to step up. Jake DeBrusk, Wouldn't have guessed this. He's improved his defensive game of the year, become more of a penalty killer. He is they're allowing 1.25 goals against per 60 when he's on the ice. That's tied for second best in the league. Maybe this was just amongst forwards, I believe. With Alexander Barkov, and they're just behind Dakota Joshua in Vancouver, who plays third, fourth line minutes for them. Alexander Barkov at this rate is the best three-zone player in the league, taking that mantle from Bergeron, superhuman three-zone numbers, Bergeron level, maybe better in some ways than Bergeron right now. I know it's sacrilegious, but look at the metrics. If you're a metrics guy,
Pissed
look
a
at
lot
Jay
of
Fresh.
Bruins fans off listening right there.
Jay Fresh's chart. He is playing like prime Bergeron right now. He's playing out of his tree. I can see if I can find the Scott McLaughlin tweet. I believe he's the one that tweeted this out as well, the whole chart. I think it was amongst forwards, so that would make more sense. He said 210 NHL forwards have played at least 405 on 5 minutes this year. Here are the top 5 in goals against per 60 minutes. Dakota Joshua, Jake DeBrusk, Alexander Barkov, Barkov's teammates Evan Rodriguez, shortly behind, and Cole Caulfield. Thought of more as a goal scorer. Maybe Cole Caulfield's developing a defensive game. Was on Spit and Chicklets yesterday. Potter's not playing tomorrow, so maybe this is the time we see Matt Potter come back and a big test against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So we'll see if that happens. Then you go to Colorado, first in the Central, 51 points. Not good enough to top the number 1 in the league Bruins, though. Nathan McKinnon has played in the league where Nikita Kucherov isn't playing the way he is, the best player in the world. Out of his mind, 61 points in 38 games. Bruins got a little MVP race gauntlet here with Tampa and Colorado. Since November 1st, Nathan McKinnon has went pointless in just 3 games. He was the number 1 star of December, and since December 2nd, he has 13 goals, 20 assists, and 33 points in 16 games. And they've won 3 straight and 7 of their last 10. A very big test for the Bruins.
Can I get a half point seeing that my MVP prediction was potentially a year off, seeing that I picked McKinnon to win the MVP last year?
Yeah, I'll give you a half point.
Thank you. All right, I'll take that.
Hey, Austin Matthews, dude. You and Austin Matthews, right?
I did, yes.
1 away from 30. They're playing the Ducks tonight.
Ooh, it's a good chance of getting that then.
I have Rocket Richard, and I bet on him to score once and 2+. So
very nice. Very nice.
Only 2 games tonight. Makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get Arizona. Second half of back-to-back on the road. You go from Colorado to Arizona to Mullet Arena. They've fallen off a little bit, decent start to the year, but they're still good. 19-15-2, 5th in the Central. Clayton Keller's got 31 points, 36 games. Bruins do well against them, though. I mean, I'm not really too worried about this, but I do like watching games in Mullet Arena, though. It's different. They're playing in a college rink. It's kind of fun. And it's temporary, it's whatever. But unless you have any closing thoughts, I think that's going to wrap it up for hockey.
No, you pretty much said it. A couple of tests, good tests here, particularly the MVP games, as you mentioned. But I mean, even Pittsburgh, I feel like the Bruins in Pittsburgh tend to have some pretty evenly matched, down to the wire performances here and there. So that'd be a good game. And then it's just funny to me to see Arizona over 500 for a change. I feel like that's never obviously the case with them. So You mentioned it. They're scuffling of late, but still a decent little game there for the Bruins. Not to take their foot off the gas at the end of a pretty not maybe tough isn't the right word, but maybe a strenuous stretch coming up here against some decent talent.
Yeah, and you got a back-to-back at the end of it here.
That's
the end of it saying the slate of games we previewed. I don't know, what the schedule looks like after that off the top of my head. But Ryan, the Red Sox have done stuff.
They're making moves. Do we agree with those moves? I don't know. We're going to find out in a second. But yeah, I mean, this one, the biggest one so far out of all of them, kind of coming out of nowhere. I had to hold off from saying coming out of left field to avoid a baseball pun. But yeah, Saturday, literally out of nowhere, to the point where I thought my friend I was playing Fortnite with was joking when he just kind of passingly said, "Oh, the Red Sox."
I was playing Fortnite at the time as well.
Were you? Wow, that's interesting. I was playing with a mic, but it was not you.
Whoa!
Unfortunately, yeah, crazy, right?
Whoa! I was playing with Pat, and I believe a mic.
Oh, all right. I wasn't part of that. But yeah, I thought he was joking because he just kind of was like, "Aha, the Red Sox traded Chris Sale," and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, right." And then I looked on my phone. And I'm like, "Holy shit, you were right." They traded Chris Sale 1-for-1 for Braves infield prospect Vaughn Grissom. They also end up paying 17 million of Chris Sale's 200, not 200, 27.5 million for 2024. Grissom comes over, of course, in the full Red Sox, 6 years of team control. So that's great for the Tampa Bay Red Sox if they want to, keep these young guys around. Grissom for a little bit on him. 22-year-old with a ton of offensive upside, but some questions on his defense. This Boston Strong tweet from the other day said, quote, Wilfredo Romero, manager of Vaughn Grissom in Puerto Rico, said, quote, he needs to work on his defense. I don't see him playing second base. His bat will find him playing time, but he really needs to work on his defense. I honestly don't see him at second base. That was, of course, via Hector Vasquez Munez, who I believe is he may write for a newspaper in Puerto Rico. I can't remember what his Twitter bio said when I looked the other day, so apologies there. But yeah, Grissom, as I said, he's got a ton of offensive upside. People who remember the name probably remember his huge home run that he hit at Fenway back in 2022 that cleared everything. Probably still hasn't come down yet. 5 homers, 18 RBIs, and a 291 batting average in 2022. Last year, didn't get as many chances with the Braves, but did hit 280 in 23 games and had no home runs but 9 RBIs. He tore it up in their AAA team, 102 games. Hit over 330 with 8 homers, 61 RBIs, 131 hits, and 36 doubles. Doesn't strike out a ton, 66 Ks, doesn't walk a lot, 56 walks, but does have some speed, stole 13 bags. The defense, as I said, played 73 games at short where he had 9 errors, and played 31 games at second base where he had just 1. Also got into a game at DH as well. Some upside on him going back in time here. 2022, he, I think, debuted the season as the Braves' number 7 overall prospect. He was their 4th offensive prospect behind Michael Harris, who, of course, was their number 1. Drew Waters, who is no longer with them. I think he's with the Royals. He was their number 3. And Braden Shoemake, who was a infielder as well. He was the number 6, also not with the Braves. So kind of funny that the 3 of their 4 top hitting prospects from 2 years ago or 3 years ago, no, 2 years ago. My math's not struggling right now. From 2 years ago, 3 out of 4 of them no longer with the Braves. That's kind of interesting there. I'll get your thoughts on the player or just the whole trade before I kind of dive into mine, because there are some things that are a little interesting about this trade. But your thoughts on moving Sale, your thoughts on the player coming back, and any other thoughts you may have.
Yeah, I certainly didn't expect it, but I'm totally okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think relying on Chris Sale to be a top of the line starter with his health issues would be stupid. Not like the Red Sox are trying to be a World Series contender as what we've seen, but
For sure. Yep.
I'm cool with it. Like, I would have expected him to get pretty little for him due to his age, injury history, and contract, but they had a great young player that I think, with the right coaching and all that, can play a good amount for the Red Sox this year, which is nice. A good young duo with him and Valdez, so that's fun. I also like Chris Sale's kind of worn on me a little bit with the curmudgeon attitude, the negativity, his demeanor. Not really the biggest fan. Appreciate what he did in 2018 and some of those stretches he had with the Red Sox where he was so dominant, and appreciate his pace of play even before the pitch clock. Because he
Yes,
was
for sure. Yep.
he would just always move quick, quicker than anyone I'd watch. But yeah, I don't know. He just kind of wore me a little bit over the years. Kind of lost me a little bit, and I'm okay with moving on. I'm surprised they were even able to get this, and I have no reason to not be thrilled right now about this trade because, like I said, relying on him to be a big time, starter, be healthy, would be foolish, and I think to get a player like this is too good to pass up on, and potentially makes the Braves much scarier, and for their sake, with what the Dodgers have done. I think this move is absolutely worth the risk. Like
Yeah,
you
I
don't
mean,
need top prospects when you're the Braves. Let's
no,
be
I
real.
mean they can. They'll come up with 5 other guys too in the next couple of
Yeah, and then
years
they'll
that'll
be
dominate. They
nasty and
always
they'll sign him to 8-year,
$20
$17
million contracts.
contracts.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
exactly. That's how the Braves operate. It's if you're a Braves fan, it's fun
yeah.
because it works for you.
Doesn't
Uh,
Austin Riley make like under $100 million or
they
something?
all do. Like I think Acuna's contract was maybe like $100 million. Ozzy Albies was under
Oh,
$100 million.
definitely wrong guy I'm thinking of. He makes 212 million.
Oh, okay. So
I'm
he
thinking
got
of
the
someone
bigger
else.
out of those deals. But yeah, if you look up Albies and Acuna's, I think
That's
they're
like
both
450 in Braves terms.
yeah, they're both like ridiculously underpaid for the talent that they
Mhm.
are.
Maybe it's
On
Albies. Maybe Albies has a cheap contract.
yeah, Albies might be like 8 for like $70 million. It's something ridiculous. He's top 5 second
7 for
baseman in the league.
35?
Yeah, I completely undersold it. Absolutely, yeah.
Oh my God.
I
Who's the
remember
guy
seeing
they
that.
signed this year that like 79 million or something? I forget.
Can't remember. Did they extend
Didn't
Michael
they
Harris already?
were they the team that got Kelenic as well? Jared Kelenic or whatever the how
Oh
you
yeah,
say his last
yeah,
name?
yeah. Kelnick from the
Kelnic.
Mariners. Yep.
Okay, yeah, he'll if he goes off,
But that was
pencil him in
the
for one of
joke.
those.
Everyone said that because he was a former, I think, #1 overall prospector. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
entirely in baseball. People were like, "Yep, he'll bounce back, hit about 300, and then the Braves will sign him for, like you said, 7 years and $20 million."
yeah.
Back on the
Oh
sale
man.
stuff, though, I'm with you. It was time. Like you could not rely on Chris Sale at this point. It does stink to see him go for, like you said, all um, the greatness he got off to at the start, the World Series run, and again, everyone will always remember, the strikeout of Machado to put him down on the knee. But I thought Steve Peralt summed it up great on Twitter when I saw this the other day. He said, "quote If Chris Sale had been healthy, he would have projected to make 131 starts during his 5-year extension with the Red Sox.
Mhm.
He only ended up making 31 of those starts, which you knew Chris Sale didn't pitch a lot, but when I saw that number, I thought it was astonishing. That's not even one
Giant,
year,
yeah.
um, not even one full baseball year when you come out to those stats, because most guys, make 31 to 32. Um, Finishing up, he said, "We missed out on 100 Chris Sale starts due to a long list of injuries. Unfortunate, really." And it was, because again, when this guy was at the top of his game, I don't think you could argue was one of the best pitchers in baseball. But I'm with you. I was shocked that they got something of value for him. That has led some people to kind of wonder, okay, if the Braves are trading for an injured and unreliable at this point, Chris Sale, how does that really reflect on Vaughn Grisham? Do they really think he's, a good player? Obviously, people have talked about the defensive metrics, and maybe this not being a great move for a Red Sox team that stunk defensively last year. Again, I will take it though because you were able to get something of value for him. Maybe they can turn him into a nice player. Craig Breslow, when he talked about him the other day, talked about the positional versatility. So he could move around a little bit. Some people seem to think left field might be a place he gets some work in as well. But you take the upside of the bat. I think the other thing that comes out of this too is now this makes a guy like Nick York, who I personally think they should have been looking to trade for at least the last couple of seasons, seeing that every prospect you bring in here is a shortstop and a second baseman. You have obviously Trevor Story at second base or shortstop. You have Mayer coming up. You have, as you mentioned, Valdez, who played well down the stretch last year and gave you some glimpses here and there. You now have Grissom. So Nick York should be a guy you should be looking to deal, or should have been looking to deal when this trade went down, because he's a guy that I think should be able to get you something back. Um, in the end, it's a chance the Braves take. They can take those chances. The Red Sox obviously get a young, controllable player, which is good. But now the question is, losing Chris Sale, it does leave a hole in the rotation that as we transition into the other move they made this past week, personally is not plugged by just Lucas Giolito. Because if you missed it, the Red Sox, of course, signed him to what was initially thought of a 2-year, $38.5 million deal. Since then, it has come out that this is completely incentive laden, player options here and there that I'll get into in a second. But to avoid me rambling any longer, what are your thoughts on the Lucas Giolito signing, a guy we have briefly touched on this show before?
Yeah, at this point, you just like if you have the opportunity, you should take it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to take a swing here on a player like this who's been really good in the past. Like 2-3 years ago in Chicago. Last year was a shit show. Didn't play good. Played for 3 different teams, but like you're not making a long-term commitment. You have money, whether you want to spend it or not. Um, just go for it. If
Mm-hmm.
you get something and he wants to opt in, like you look like pretty smart.
Here's the thing, though: is he
And
going to
it
want to opt
doesn't.
in?
That's the thing. Like if he
Because
plays
this
well and he
is
likes it here, but if he wants to win and he plays really well, he goes to a winner that wants to sign him.
Mhm.
Um, I like what he's capable of. That's all I can really say. Like, can't say I watched a ton of White Sox,
Angels or
Angels,
Guardian
and,
starts
and
from
Guardian
last year.
starts.
Yeah.
But seems like a good player. Like
Mhm.
in the running for Cy Young in the past. So I'll take a swing. It's not even 30 yet, so no long-term commitment.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a guy
Works
if
for
you
me.
can. I think a lot of people kind of have tied this into the addition of Andrew Bailey as the pitching coach. A lot of people seem to think, if Bailey's going to make his money, it's going to be on, rejuvenating a guy like Giolito, and trying to figure out what plagued him last year. Some notes on the contract really quick though, because Chris Cotillo I thought had a good breakdown of it because it gets kind of convoluted. His tweet was Lucas Giolito's deal is 1 year, $19 million deal with a player option for 2025, then a conditional option for 2026 that maxes out at $58 million over 3 years in a very unlikely scenario. 2024 is a base salary of $18 million with $1 million available in incentives. 2025 jumps up to a $19 million player option, as you said, or a $1 million buyout for the Red Sox with $1 million again in incentives. 2026 is where things kind of get a little crazy. The conditional option, this is under the condition of if he makes 140 plus innings in 2025, it becomes a $14 million club option or a $1.5 million buyout. If he makes or pitches in less than 140 innings in 2025, it becomes a $19 million mutual option with a $1.5 million buyout. The good on Lucas Giolito, he's an innings eater, as you mentioned. Since his first full season in 2018, he's made 28 plus starts every year, minus of course the COVID year, which he made 12, but he did make all those starts, never missed any time in that year, including all of base. He led all of baseball in games started last year with 33. He's thrown more than 160 innings in every year except the COVID year again, and of course his first 2 years when he was really trying to break into the league. So you kind of knock those years off his ledger here because didn't make have a full season. From 2019 to 2021, as you mentioned, he was in the Cy Young running each of those years, finishing 6th, 7th, and 11th respectively. Last year we talked about it. He struggled a lot. Tyler Milliken had a tweet where if you look at his first 18 starts from a year ago, over 100 innings of work, a 3.50 ERA, and a whole bunch of advanced metric stats, including a 229 batting average against and home runs per 9 of 1.4. So he was really good in the first half of the year. The bad, though, was those final 15 starts, 79 innings, a 6.72 ERA. The home runs per 9 jumped up to 2.9. His batting average against was 248. I'm kind of on the fence about him, to be honest. Again, as we talked about before, this is a guy that, if he's in addition to something else, I don't have a problem with it. Like if he ends up being your number 2, number 3 starter, then I'm cool with it. But as we sit here right now today and no other moves have been made, and I don't know if it looks like they're going to make a lot of other moves. Some people seem to think that they are, unless, as we'll get into in a second, some other money comes off the board, which is stupid. If he is your opening day starter going into the season, then we're going to have some problems because at this point in his career with the struggles he has had, leading all of baseball in home runs last year, really struggling down the stretch, 2 seasons back to back of, almost ERAs in the 490 and 488 the last couple of seasons. If he's your number 1 starter, then again, failure of an offseason, like you didn't do enough as it comes down to, and I would be kind of worried if that was the case. I don't know if you feel the same or not.
Oh, I would too.
Okay.
I don't know what they're waiting for with Jordan Montgomery at this point.
I feel like they're just not going to sign him at this point. You've heard nothing since.
And I just have no faith in them signing Blake Snell. The thing for me that was really interesting about this all is I believe today he said there just wasn't a lot of interest in him. And it took this long.
He tanked his market with how bad of a season he had last year. There's no doubt about that.
But the way he was being talked about, it feels like there was at least 4 or 5 teams in on him, which maybe not a lot to him is 4 to 5 teams, but I don't know. It was just interesting. I'm cool with taking a shot at him. It's whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
you gotta spend money somewhere. Just
exactly. It is what it is. You need to fill this rotation with some bona fide guys instead of these mix and match pieces here. Again, the fact that you get a guy that can throw 160 plus innings will be good. Again, now whether those starts are good or not, I find it interesting that again the Red Sox find themselves giving a starter an opt-out clause. You saw that happen with Michael Wacha and how well that turned out for the Red Sox. He pitched really well, and then said, "See you later. I'm out of here." So kind of interesting now. The Red Sox. I feel like this is how they have to work with some of these guys. Is hey, we need you for a year. We'll give you the opt-out clause. So when we suck and we prove that we're not, about winning these next years down the line, you can jump ship and go find a team that's going to, going to pay for you and going to, help them win. Obviously, it was interesting. Some people kind of thought that about Chris Sale because he did have a no trade clause, which he had to waive to go to the Braves. So people found that interesting. Had to waive a no trade clause to come to Boston when he was traded from the White Sox, who stunk and were not, serious about winning at that point. Now, a couple years down the line, the Red Sox in the same spot. They trade Chris Sale away. He waives the no trade clause, knowing that, hey, I'm going to a better situation in Atlanta, a team that's serious about winning and has a bright future. Whether I'm going to be there or not down the line, because obviously his contract's up at the end of the year. But interesting little tidbit there that, and again, I found that interesting that the Red Sox again signing a pitcher, but giving them a chance to opt out after a year or two. Again, to me, kind of shows that you are not serious about winning down the line. And this is a guy that is probably only going to be here for a year, and then if he pitches well, we'll probably end up somewhere else with a more talented roster.
That's exactly where I'm at, man.
Okay, fair enough. Then, as I said, we had this Chris Cotillo article it came out after the Chris Sale trade. Had an article on Mass Live talking about what might be down the line for the Red Sox next. This is something you alluded to either on last week's show or over text or Twitter, whatever it was. A potential trade of another piece. And I thought at first you were kind of crazy talking about it, not going to lie. Why would they do something like this? But this has caught steam, potentially trading away a guy that, at a position that you have needed down the line. But it would be dumb. I'll get to the article, though. I'm going to stop rambling. This was the couple of quotes. They quote, according to Baseball Source, Red Sox have told at least one free agent target that they need to shed more payroll before pursuing him as aggressively as they want to. It's no coincidence then that the Red Sox shaved nearly $4 million in salary by swapping Verdugo, projected to earn $9.2 million in arbitration for Tyler O'Neill, who's projected to earn $5.5, and $8.6 million more based on the CBT calculations by moving Chris Sale. The other line in this, talking about the Red Sox basically being a poverty franchise, is the Red Sox still have holes, but in their messaging to agents appear to be looking to move some money before aggressively plugging them. In that vein, one obvious trade candidate is closer Kenley Jansen, who is owed $16 million in the final year of a 2-year, $32 million contract. There are some in the organization who believe the loss of Jansen, who did save 29 games in 2023, could easily be remedied. Chris Martin or Tanner Houck could shift to the closer role with other late inning options, potentially John Schreiber or Josh Winckowski, taking more important roles if Jansen is dealt. Like I said, this is something you brought up to me either last week or a couple weeks ago. Mentioned Houck in the closer role. Your thoughts on the potential of moving Kenley Jansen? I feel like this is a move that you are not going to get behind. I'm not either, really quick. But I want to hear your thoughts on the whole situation, and maybe, do you think these type of guys can step into that role? Or would you like to see somebody else get that chance if given the opportunity?
Yeah, I need to see what they do after moving Jansen, because I'm okay with moving Jansen. Like, it's not ideal, but like if you have a big plan afterwards, like I'm willing to see it through, especially, a guy trying to make his mark in Breslow. My thing with the closer thing though is if you trade Jansen, I want Schreiber to be the closer. I've come to the conclusion of. I think Tanner Houck could be fun to try.
Not Chris Martin,
but I kind of like Schreiber there. Like
okay.
You told me the other day, like Martin's a good 8th inning guy. I think Schreiber, unless you feel more confident in Martin, I'm cool with either. I feel like Schreiber, to preserve Chris Martin's role, which worked in the 8th inning, I think you should give Schreiber the first shot. If it really doesn't work, give Tanner Houck a shot just because you need to find something for Tanner Houck unless you trade him. Winckowski, like, I prefer not. Like, I like Winckowski, but I just don't know how much faith I have. Like, I've seen Schreiber, cool, calm, and collected late in games at times. I would like Schreiber to get the first dibs in this event.
Okay.
But, like, I don't know. Like, they better do something if they're going to trade Kenley Jansen, because this just feels so, like, not penny pinching in this case, but so.
No, it is.
Such like a prime Red Sox type of move situation that I feel like they're going to do it. Like, it's never the guys they're interested in. It's very much a toss up. A situation like this, I feel like they're just gonna do.
I think I don't know what Chris Cotillo's allegiance is to the Red Sox. I don't know if I feel like he's not because he writes for Mass Live, but one of the, people that only talk highly about the Red Sox. But my whole mindset is I hope this comment doesn't come out, as a farce, being like, oh, the Red Sox, they do want to do more, but they're kind of handcuffed with what they have financially right now. So they're going to have to move a guy like Kenley Jansen, and then they will potentially go after somebody else. And then when they don't sign anybody, they can sit and go, well, we had some chances, but we couldn't get the guy we wanted. I also hope that if they move Kenley Jansen, it isn't to free up money to bring Teoscar Hernandez in. Like, you know what I'm getting at here? Like, if you're going to move Jansen, and
Kind of what it feels like.
you're trying to aggressively sign a free agent. That free agent better be like, as you mentioned, Jordan Montgomery's price tag is probably going to go up.
Yeah,
Maybe
but
Blake Snell's name has started to come up a little bit more.
exactly. Whose
But
name are you hearing?
yeah,
It's Teoscar
exactly.
Hernandez. You're not
It's
hearing Jordan Montgomery. You're not
yep.
hearing Blake Snell. So they're going to do it to sign a
That's what
outfielder
I'm
for
worried
4 years
about.
and like 90 million that they don't need for 4 years.
Now, if
Um,
they do that and then go out and maybe trade, because obviously going to have a log jam at outfield, if they maybe move Duran or Abreu for a young, controllable starting pitcher, then those things
like the
balance each other
Luzardo
out.
guy.
Yeah, or Luzardo, something like. I mean, I would take him in a heartbeat, absolutely. But again, as I talked about last week when you lost out on Yamamoto, when the first rumor that comes out is, oh, they're looking to sign an outfielder. Like you need
Maybe
to
it's
balance
Imanaga.
these. Maybe, yeah. I mean, you said it last week. We haven't heard anything about
Imanaga
that
would make
guy
sense because
since.
of the money. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
and
But
I saw a funny. It was from like some BR website that apparently proposed a Kenley Jansen for Jack Leiter
I
straight
saw that today. I do
trade.
that. I do that trade in a heartbeat too.
Do you think the Rangers would do it?
Probably not, but
No, no way, right?
yeah. I don't. I mean, yeah, I feel like Leiter is kind of fallen out of favor there just because he's been so inconsistent and so wild. But that's a guy again, young, controllable pitcher. I take a chance on. He's probably buried on that depth chart too. But I'd take a chance on him in a heartbeat.
Hmm.
But I said it to you the other day when we were talking about this. I just hate the idea that how many years did we have to, once Craig Kimbrell left here, watch the Red Sox just kind of neglect the closer position and say, oh, we'll figure it out.
And
We'll piece it together.
I feel like over the years, like it's am I wrong in saying it's kind of harder to find great free agent closers?
It absolutely is. I mean, because I think a lot of teams across the league will just sit there and go, okay, we'll bring a couple of guys in here as like late inning guys, and then they'll try to piece it
Or
together.
they
Maybe
lock them up.
yeah, or they lock them up, or you get one stud for every pit. Like you can't find guys like Jake Hader and stuff like that. Those guys just kind of are their own beast. Um, but it blows my mind after so many years of not having a closer. Then it looks like maybe you will have one in Garrett Whitlock and you turn him into a starter or try to do that and you ruin him for a year or two. Like, yeah, it makes sense from a money standpoint if you want to continue to pinch pennies and be as cheap as they've been and continue to worry about being under your luxury tax that they're nowhere close to, mind you. I saw that come out today that they should not be doing this because they are nowhere close to the luxury tax threshold.
Like
Um,
so, they're paying Devers, they're paying Story, they're gonna have to pay Cautious eventually.
mhm.
They're paying Chris Sale some remaining money,
Yep.
17 million. Who else are they paying? Big money.
There's not many I can think of. I'm trying to run through position players right now. There isn't really. I mean, Yoshida, but I can't. I don't think he's making a
Yoshida, he's
ton of money.
100.
Yeah. Um. No,
Around one
it's
hand.
mainly Devers and it's Story. I mean, Story is the biggest one outside of
Yeah.
Devers. Now that, like you said, Sale is his contract is somewhat still on the books. Um. Like Jansen again. He's if you're going this year, but my whole thing too is like
Like
okay,
this mindset makes you think the Red Sox had like 100 million plus dollar contracts on the
you'd
books.
think they
They
were the
don't.
Dodgers and are owing two guys half
Yeah.
$1 billion, which they're not. They're not even close. Like, but again, this is just it's where you are with this again penny pinching franchise. My whole thing too is from a baseball standpoint. If you do trade Jansen, like I just hate the fact that okay, I think Chris Martin could do the job no problem in closing. Schreiber, same thing. He's gotten opportunities before. He's pitched well in the role. So I wouldn't have a problem with him closing. But you lose Jansen. Now every guy kind of like I've talked about this with you yesterday the other day. Every guy gets pushed back, so now you don't have an eighth inning guy because Chris Martin is now your closer. But now John Schreiber is your eighth inning guy because Martin got pushed back. Now you don't have a seventh inning guy. So it has this ripple down effect. They have plenty of yeah, exactly. They have plenty of pitchers that can fill these roles. But I just like having the nailed down closer, which Jansen was. How could probably be good at the job, but we talked about this the other day. Like Tanner Houck, I feel like a decent amount of his performances, he takes an inning or two to get going. So, and a guy who's never closed before. Does he? I mean, I can't remember if maybe he has a save or two, so maybe I'm wrong in that sense. But with a bigger workload in the position, you don't know how he's going to take to that. He could crumble under the pressure, given a couple of big spots if he, starts to blow some saves here and there. So, it's them cutting corners and cutting money and trying to, look further down the line for the 2025, 2026 season, stuff like that, not have these contracts on the books. And again, not serious about winning or not being serious about winning. But I don't know. Like it just sits so wrong with me. Don't tell me you have to trade Kelly Jansen to bring in a top pitcher or a top free agent
Mhm.
here, and don't do it if it's going to be Teoscar Hernandez. Because again, you need pitching help. And I said this last week with the Yamamoto stuff. Like you don't miss out on a pitcher, and then your first move is to go get an outfielder. Like those two things don't add up to me. Like again, you can want to sit here and think it's like 2015 all over again or whatever that year was, where they you had the five aces comment or five number ones and think you're going to outslug people to death, and then you end up losing a ball game 13-12 because
Mhm.
your pitching can't hold. Like
Yeah.
it's just frustrating. They do some good stuff like the depth signing of Giolito and the trade of Sale to get a promising player back in here. But then they have comments like this where it's like, all right, I can't root for you anymore because you're doing stupid stuff that you really shouldn't be.
Preaching right to me, man.
Mhm.
I'm in the same boat. Um, you got any other baseball thoughts?
I don't think so. I was just looking really quick. Like I
Yeah.
texted you today about you sent me. I can't even remember the kid that they were projected to
Yeah.
sign at the Dominican Republic. Like that's one of those ones again. Unless it's a big league move, I can't get excited for it because
Yeah.
it's a guy you're gonna have to. He's like what 17 years old.
Yeah. He's 17. So
Yeah,
we'll see
it's a
him
guy
in
you're not gonna see until
4
like
years.
2030. Yeah,
Yeah. If that,
if he even makes it.
the
Yeah, he's
4
an
years until
outfielder. So
2030.
yeah,
I did see that the Tampa Bay Lightning, who the Bruins have coming up, just placed Mikhail Sergachev on IR.
ooh,
Pretty
it's a
big
big
loss.
loss. Yeah,
Pretty big loss. I also, before we wrap up the show, wanted to give a shout out to Team USA. Semifinals tomorrow, 1:30.
nice.
If you don't watch, you're un-American. If you're unable to watch, that's okay. You're not an American. But if you're able to watch and you don't watch, you're un-American. Um, USA Finland at 1:30, Sweden Czechia at 9 a.m. So I'll be watching those tomorrow. Very excited.
I
They've
will
had a
watch
great
either of
tournament.
those games.
You will not?
No,
Come on, Ryan. Jeez, you're the biggest World Junior guy I know.
oh yeah, yep. Mm.
Um,
Yeah, it kills me that I'm not gonna be able to
I'm
watch
very
too many of
excited.
those.
Did you at least put a future on USA like I
I
told you
did,
to?
yes. Like I
Yes.
followed your suit there.
Yes. Yes. Let's go. Very excited for tomorrow. Go Team USA.
Mhm.
Hopefully PWHL Boston can muster up a comeback. They did score to make it 3-2, but the goal was called back because one of the Minnesota players went into their own goalie and caused chaos. I don't know if anything else was factoring in there. I was, focusing on the show, but thank you so much for listening. First episode of the new year. Another great year on the way for our listeners. Thank you so much for listening. If you're new, please continue to listen. You can find us wherever you find your podcasts on Apple and Spotify. You can rate and review as well. Give us 5 stars. The Full Press Coverage Twitch and YouTube channels. Go subscribe and follow there. Like the stream. Follow all that good stuff. Find us on the Full Press Coverage app. We're live on Twitter and Facebook when we go live, all that good stuff, all the plugs where you can listen. But yeah, stay safe, stay healthy, be nice people, all that good stuff. Enjoy the last week of regular season football before things really kick into gear, the national championship and stuff. And we'll talk to you next Wednesday. Remember, Wednesdays now. See you later. Peace out.